You've found yourself at the junction where worlds meet. Politics.
Civility? How about honesty in this country, folks?
Entertainment.
I don't like entertainment.
And a whole bunch of other stuff.
It's about having a healthy body image.
You have a very unhealthy body. You should have a horrible body image.
Not a big home improvement market in Detroit.
We are definitely going to get letters.
You're listening to Talk Radio's Strangest Animal.
You're a strange animal, that's what I know.
You're getting louder with Crowder.
But you're a strange animal, I got to follow. Oh, I'm in the spiritus.
Glad to be with you. That's the sound of the weekend. I am your host, Stephen Crowder, louderwithcrowder.com. Producing with me in video studio, as always, is Jared, who is not gay. Follow him on Twitter at NotGayJared. I've fulfilled my legal obligations. Draw your own conclusions. We're good.
We're good. Do you every time you hear the intro, do you hear that little like whoa, down?
Because of the cultural appropriation
Yeah,
month?
in my head, it happens every time. I'm like, oh crap, I screwed it up.
No, I don't. But way to derail this show right off the bat to
was-
something entirely unrelated.
that was my goal.
That couldn't be less interesting to the listener. John Candy in Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. You got any shower curtain rings to sell? Big show.
Big show.
Really big, unbelievable show. We have Dean Cain, Superman, calling in the second hour. First hour, we have
You could have ended there. You could have stopped
You
there.
could have stopped there. People would just want to tune in for Dean Cain. The man is gorgeous. I mean, he's on your gay cross-off list. Where
Yeah,
it's like
if you went
not,
for him, it's okay.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Like he's
For
on
sure.
there at one
Dave
point.
Rubin, maybe.
No, because if he were straight, I think it's
But
an
his skin's just so
an
good.
act.
It's
I
so
think
nice.
it's an act.
I
To
think
be
it
honest
is
with
too.
Dave Rubin.
Fooled us.
You're gayer
Got
than
us.
Dave Rubin. But we have Sargon of Akkad in the first hour. Brilliant, our resident liberal atheist. We have liberal lunacy afterwards, a resident cripple. And we have Jean-Guy Tremblay, who's going to this is the first time live reporting down from the DNC, a big Bernie supporter. And we have a bunch going on here tonight. This has been a crazy week. So it's one of those things, right? You get to the end of the week, so much has happened. At the beginning of the week, you had Normandy. And then it's sort of been drowned out by the DNC. So I have been choking back human vomit all week with the DNC, as I'm sure many of you have. And it is just, it exemplifies everything that is wrong. For people who are listening, we have a lot of listeners who aren't really conservative. I get that. I hope if you ever had any doubts before, a lot of them are on the fence, like, well, I still consider myself a liberal, but I'm anti-social justice warrior progressive left. Have you tuned into the DNC? There's no place for you. It couldn't be more of a pandering parade, and both sides do it. I get it. You know, at the RNC, there's a lot of I like mustard on my fries and trucks, and people are like, well, you said truck. I like trucks. I get it. But the DNC is just taking it to a whole new level. Talk about reopening old wounds to it, the DNC. People have gotten to just surface sort of rants on the DNC, whether you're on AM radio or cable news. Just, these people are saying nothing. No, they're saying a whole lot. And that's what's so important. I'm constantly frustrated, and that's why we've created this show with the lack of subtext coming from the right. Mm-hmm. Let me give you an example. So we're going to just rattle this off in the first segment, hopefully to help you understand it better. Let's start with Michelle Obama, something nobody else talked about that I've heard. I can't believe it. Roll that clip.
That is the story of this country, the story that has brought me to this stage tonight. The story of generations of people who felt the lash of bondage, the shame of servitude, the sting of segregation, but who kept on striving and hoping and doing what needed to be done so that today I wake up every morning in a house that was built by slaves.
They're clapping for slavery.
And I watch my daughters, two beautiful, intelligent black young women playing with their dogs on the White House lawn.
Okay, all right. Now here's the deal. Bill O'Reilly's a dumbass, and Bill O'Reilly came in, slaves were well fed, and you're a moron. You picked this stupid argument, and this is why a show like this is necessary. Am I the only one who noticed that right in the middle? She was talking like Michelle Obama. Mm-hmm. All of a sudden, she's possessed by the demonic spirit of Jesse Jackson, and then Michelle Obama... so that I am today in a house built by slaves with two really pretty young black women. It's like Hillary Clinton with the hot sauce. It just goes to show you can't go up and she went on to people try to say it was positive how far we've come. No, it's not. It wasn't positive. It went on to say this is how far we've come, but we need to break through the new glass ceiling with the woman. That's what it really was. Every single that was glass ceiling, women, like trains, like the retarded seal in Finding Dory. Okay, that they kick off the rock.
Oh, poor Gerald.
Was that his name?
Gerald. Yeah, poor guy.
Oh, built this house built by slavery. It's just so fake and phony. And you know what that tells you? There's a certain level of blackness that's required to be at the DNC. They're the ones who require perpetuating a stereotype because these people are answering to a market. So you've got that, let's pander to, let's reopen the wounds because that's where we thrive. Slavery, bring it up. Okay, let's ignore the fact that a black man was elected by the majority of the country, has been there for 8 years. Slavery. But we made some progress, but now we need a woman. All right, okay. Speaking of which, what was the next? Oh, okay, here's another one. Cheers. Cheers for something. See if you can. I know people are going to say I'm an ass. It's not lost on me. But let's see if you can spot what might be wrong with the cheers here. Bring up the,
Gano, but I don't feel brave every day. On most days, I'm scared. I'm scared that at any moment, my mom and my dad will be forced to leave.
Pause. Just pause real quick. Can we pause and then continue from there?
Probably.
Why would they be forced to leave? Oh, you mean your parents are criminals, sweetheart? Is that what you mean to say? Everyone's going, oh no, her parents could be forced to leave. Well, hold on. What about the other kids who didn't get a chance to be put on there with hey, listen, we need you to turn up the Latino accent here, okay? We need to buy these votes. You saw the DNC leaks. Turn it up, say, my parents are going to be forced to leave, okay? Do a little mariachi number if you can when you go out there, please, sweetheart. We need to buy these votes. So they send her out there. Why would they be? What about the kids whose parents came here legally, who didn't get a pandering platform? Huh? What about those kids? What about those kids whose parents came from Poland or French Canada, who learned the language, who went through the process? They're not afraid of their parents being forced to leave because they came here legally. So which brings us to the next point, this girl's ambition.
I'm scared. I'm scared that
Can you fast forward that a little bit? Are you not able to fast forward?
To leave.
All right.
And I wonder, what if I come home and find it empty?
That's not how it works.
See my parents.
They find it empty.
I want my parents to see me do science experiments and help me find my rare rocks in the desert. I want to grow up to be a lawyer so I can help other families like us.
And there's the cheer. They're cheering crime. What do you mean, help other families? Oh, help other families whose parents are here illegally. You're not being compassionate. Of course I'm compassionate. That girl doesn't understand it. That girl doesn't understand that her parents broke the law. I get that. She also doesn't understand that she's being used as a political tool by the DNC. Bring out the black president's wife. Bring out the little Latino girl. Who else? Bring out the transgender. And then it just keeps going on down the list. Let's just see how every single box had to be checked. The next, what do we have? The next, oh yeah. Well, this one, this is just they trotted out the people with disabilities. We'll talk about that with liberal lunacy. All right, bring on the next one. Bring on the next one.
I wish everyone could get to know Hillary's heart like I have. She always looks out for the little guy, no pun intended.
Okay, first off, that's just painful. I feel bad that if his handlers sent him out without a better joke. So we go, okay, slavery, glass ceiling, illegal immigrants, transgenders with all gender bathrooms. As Nick DiPaolo said, they're just going to let him drop a deuce right there on the stage. What do we got else? We got cripples. Let's bring out the little guy. And don't we have Chelsea Clinton?
Yeah,
she was. You know how exhausting it must be to speak?
Urgently to every young woman and yes, every young man. Every person who may not know their gender yet or
oh my
have
God,
no
stop
identity.
it, stop it, stop it. I can't take any more of that talking rake. Listen, I know, it's mean. Yeah, it's mean. This is just an insult to everybody's intelligence. It was one big pandering parade to check the boxes. It couldn't be more clear that it's identity politics. And they were all sent out. Why? Why the little person? Well, because the little person, you all need to vote Democrat because you need free health care for whatever it is little people need. The handicapped people in the wheelchair. You need
stools.
You need stools. I don't know what little bricks. Stop it. Stop it.
Phone books are hard to come by.
Stop it. Send her out in a wheelchair because it needs government-funded wheelchairs. Send out the transgender because just like in San Francisco, you need the government, you need the taxpayer to pay for your gender reassignment surgery, despite the fact that most transgenders don't go through with it. Send out the illegal immigrants. Why? Because, well, listen, we need them to turn into lawyers to bring in more illegal immigrants for a voting base. Do you have any idea how exhausting it must be to be that DNC showrunner?
Did you see like even the bathroom signs? I mean,
Yeah,
how
I
many
know.
boxes they had to check?
It's just, this is what it is. It is unbelievable. And they removed the Second Amendment from their platform. It's no longer a part of the DNC. It's no longer a part of the
unless it was to remove it. There was a couple bits I saw.
To
but
remove it.
That's it.
That's about it. The only time it's brought up is to remove it. Imagine being the showrunner for that show. Say, you know, got their headset in the back. All right, listen, we're short on time. We're short on time. Okay, we'll bring out the tranny. Bring out the cripple. Where's the little person? Bring out the little person. He's only up in about a minute. Well, he needs more time to hobble. Get him out there for hobbling. There were seat fillers. We need more gay people in the front row. Can we have more gay people in the front row? I think Dave's gay. I need flamers. I need flamers in the front row. It doesn't register on camera if he's gay. Can you get him a rainbow pin? Do we have any boas in wardrobe? Give him this autographed Liza Minnelli poster. Can we get an undocumented immigrant? No, our immigrant is documented. They're legal. Crap, we need someone else. We have an undocumented Arshad from Lebanon, undocumented Muslim. Get him out. He's a Lebanese Catholic. Send him back. Send him back. We need undocumented Muslim refugees, cripples, midgets. Please, send them my way. Make them seat fillers, everybody. This is how we get votes. Both sides pander. There is one convention here that has been remarkably insulting of your intelligence. It's the one with midgets and trannies. We'll be back talking Freddie Gray.
For breaking news on Louder with Crowder, I'm Perry Matheson. We have received confirmation that the main figurehead behind this week's controversial and landmark DNC leaks has been figured, and we have been granted an exclusive interview. And I am now receiving confirmation that he is dead. Well, sometimes that's just the way the cookie crumbles. I guess we'll never know what happened with the DNC leaks. We'll keep you abreast as this story unfolds. For Louder with Crowder, I'm Perry Matheson.
Whoa, Jared, what are you doing?
Shoot bad guys.
With what?
My AR-15.
Where'd you get it?
AR-15.com.
Oh, there's another one. You got him.
Yeah.
Thank God for AR-15.com. They have AR-15 and accessories for sale and the best advice there is on the web. Oh, no, there's another one. You got him.
Yeah.
With your what?
AR-15.
From where?
AR-15.com.
That's the best place to go, and that's the takeaway because this commercial's about to stop.
Glad to be back. Not really. I am sorry. Listen. Every now and it's just watching the DNC. It's been a Chinese water torture. Speaking of which, apparently North Korea just declared war on the United States. That's cute.
It's cute.
North Korea.
Adorable.
Oh my gosh.
I watched Team America last night, by the way.
Yeah,
so
I
that's
know.
all that comes into my mind now when I think of North Korea.
Yeah.
Kim Jong-il. That was that one. But it's all the same.
Did you like it?
It was pretty funny. It's pretty funny.
Depends on who's in the room with you.
Yeah.
You got to be careful if people are sensitive with that one.
Yeah, they cut out the best part though. That the certain scene everyone knows about. It's not in that version. You have to go online to find it.
This is true. All right, listen. Let's go to the. I want to run this first. So this has happened. The Freddie Gray cops have all been acquitted of charges. That's important to note. Let's roll the clip first from Marilyn Mosby. This is what she said. We covered this at louderwithcrowder.com in relation to the. She's the prosecutor.
Morning. Thank you all for being here. Today, Baltimore finds itself at the epicenter of a national conflict between urban and rural populations of color and the law enforcement agencies that are sworn to protect and serve them. It is a struggle that strikes at the basic ideas of self-determination, justice, equality, and sadly, humanity in America. However fitting it is for observers to use the All
right, bring me back in. Jared forgot to time code that thing. Gosh, not gay, Jared.
This is
Get
the
your
worst.
act together
This
tonight.
is just the worst.
Let me bring it. It's up at louderwithcrowder.com. So let me get this for you. All right, here we can't real. Let me just bring the microphone to my computer here. Not gay, Jared. All right. Well, as long as we don't have to run an advertisement for YouTube. All right, there we go. Let's get this going.
been extremely accommodating. There were individual police officers. There were individual police officers that were witnesses to the case, yet were.
All right, let's just
that's
stop
Comcast
this.
for you.
This is Comcast for you. Here's the deal. She said they were obstructing justice. They were withholding evidence. She talked about witnesses, people in the police force policing themselves. There's a valid point to be made here, okay? Police force policing themselves, unions. I get it. I understand that there is corruption in big government entities, whether it's the police or any government bureaucracy. But what she said was verifiably false. I have the quotes here right here. She said they were creating lead detectives that were completely uncooperative and started a counter-investigation to disprove the state's case. She accused them of creating videos to disprove the state's case without knowledge, creating notes that were drafted after the case was launched to contradict the medical examiner's conclusion. Everything that Mosby has said is false. These things didn't happen, to the point that the mayor, the black female mayor, 2 glass ceilings, said, no, that's not true. And Not Gay Jared can bring these other things up on screen. Listen, here's the deal. When you have rhetoric like this, and you talk about things that completely are untrue, it's about as untrue as Michael Brown with his hands up not shooting, right? Right. I get in that mode. I've been doing jank this week. Right. Come on. What is she insinuating? This is important for people to note with Black Lives Matter and people like this. She is telling her constituents right now that there are 6 murderous police officers who have gotten off scot-free. 100%. With no ramifications for committing the heinous crime of murder. She has, if you read Twitter, you see the social media, you see the outcry, people believe that these cops murdered a young man and have gotten off scot-free. So today you say there's no justice, even though there was justice, there's no justice and these murderers are on the loose, and then tomorrow you act shocked when they start picking off said cops. If you believe that there was someone out there right now, 6 people, a gang that murdered a kid and got away with it, and everyone else knew, but they weren't going to do anything, wouldn't it be plausible for someone to say, well, it's justifiable for someone to try and take that out? For example, if someone made an attempt on O.J. Simpson's life, I'm not advocating this at all, I'm not saying you should, it wouldn't come as a shocker, right? It wouldn't be a shocker because people would say, I can see, I don't condone it, there's a system of law in place, we have checks and balances, but someone wanted to take out a murderer. That's what Black Lives Matter believe about these cops. That's what they believed about Darren Wilson. That's what they believe about these police officers. That's what they believe about the officers in Tamir Rice. They don't want justice. They want someone tried in the court of public opinion. And so what happens when this takes place? Well, now Baltimore's crime has skyrocketed past Detroit. You brought up, do you have that? Can you bring it up again, the USA Today? 40% more violent attacks from 2015. 44% of police officers killed, up from 2015. That's 26 police officers. That's a huge jump. Now, here's the big thing. The left will tell you right now, well, actually, that's not true, that police deaths have gone down over time. That's true. Of course, there's been a downward trend, just as there's been a downward trend in all crime over the last several decades. That's not what's relevant here. Let's be honest. When did you start hearing? You never heard probably the name Sean King, DeRay, Mosby, these people, Rachel Dolezal, until within the last year and a half. So we are talking about acute statistics. These matter, not the long-term trend, but this happened in the last year or 2 years. Now that the stats are coming, has there been a sharp rise in assassinations against police officers? Yes, verifiably so. Not only that, sharp rise in crime in Baltimore. They skyrocketed past Detroit. Sharp rise in crime in Chicago. Lowered police response time. Lowered police response rate, period. Police officers are afraid to police in the black areas. Only in Baltimore could you have a black prosecutor, black mayor, black city council, and half the cops were black. And when they're cleared of charges, black judge, accuse the system of being racist. It's the system. No, this is you don't want justice. You want people tried in the court of public opinion. And so what happens with that? The public doesn't have the information. And so they make horrible judgments, whether it's taking out cops or stupid articles that inspire it. Sargon of Akkad coming up next. We'll change gear and talk Europe here, Normandy.
And now for actual conversations from firearm message boards.
Hi, I'm looking to purchase a first-time firearm, and I was wondering what would be best for a novice like me.
You need to do 2 things. Number 1, get a gun that fits for you. Number 2, use the biggest caliber that you can possibly handle. One caveat is I wouldn't go any lower than a .45, because then it's just a pea shooter.
Caliber nothing. It's all about capacity. 15 shots of 9 is certainly better than 8 shots of .45. Especially for the novice shooter who's going to have difficulty with accuracy.
15 shots is better if you don't mind a shot for queers. I personally carry a .44 Magnum, but I've been known to step down to the .45 when it is humid outside, and I am of light dress.
There have been tremendous advancements in ammunition technology, and 9mm hollow points create enough expansion for a wound cavity worthy of self-defense scenarios.
Expansion, nothing. All you're doing with the bullet is like punching a hole in paper, so you want a bigger hole. That's why you want the bullet with the biggest diameter, and I won't carry anything less than a .45.
By that logic, why don't you carry a .50 caliber handgun?
Well, maybe I will, and you know what? I can handle it too, because I'm not some 9mm shooting fat.
This lady just wants help, and you're being a real elitist dick.
I'm trying to save her life. I know a guy who got shot by 5 9mm in the head, and he didn't even go to the hospital. Just kept drinking his Busch Ice.
I would like to see a source for this, because I believe that that's a fabrication.
Tell you what, why don't you come over to my house, and I'll show you my source right next to my .454.
You sound mentally unstable, and ill-equipped to dispense firearm advice.
Mentally ill, nothing. I'm tired of you putting people's lives in danger. You know what? I'm gonna change my advice. You shouldn't carry anything less than a .44 Magnum.
Hi guys, just checking in. Wow, this escalated and got out of hand really quickly. I'm still confused. What caliber of handgun should I be purchasing? Thanks in advance. Smiley emoji. All right, glad to be back. Listen, we had this guest on not too long ago. Not Gay Jared corrupted somehow the file. We have to pre-tape him sometimes because he's all the way over there across the pond.
Mm-hmm.
You know him. You've seen his YouTube channels. A brilliant guy. One of my favorite guests. Just YouTube Sargon of Akkad, and he will show up. That's 2 Ks. Sargon, thank you for being with us, sir.
Oh, my pleasure, man. You know, second time.
Yeah, I know. Exactly.
Second time's a charm. That's what they say.
Gosh, you have no idea how mad I was too, because it was right after Brexit, and we did this interview, and then Not Gay Jared came. He was like,
It was a weird week too, if I remember right. It was a weird time of trying to make up for it.
What was that when I was traveling?
And then Leah Keith came on. She filled in. She was awesome.
Anyway, we have him on now, so shut up. It's not about you, Not Gay Jared. Sargon, I apologize. So it's not like there's any shortage of news here coming out of Europe. Obviously with Normandy today, horrible. Yeah. Listen, do you think there could be a Frexit Do you think that that's the temperature of the water now in Europe, or do you think they'll never get it and they're just going to walk off the cliff of multiculturalism?
That's a good question. The problem with a Frexit is that France is one of the core members of the EU. And they're really central to the European Union. And so them leaving would be a very... I mean, I have trouble envisaging it. Yeah. It would be incredibly contentious. But the problem that France is having at the moment is obviously Muslim terror attacks. Same with Germany. And this is causing a massive spike in people joining right-wing parties. And I don't mean like conservative parties.
Right.
I mean the sort of, very far right. Sort of
you mean like, yes, neo-Nazi-esque, but they still want socialized medicine. It's a bizarre sort of...
Yeah, not quite. I wouldn't describe them necessarily as neo-Nazis, but they're not far off.
Right.
I think it'd be inaccurate to call them neo-Nazis, but they're certainly very hardcore nationalists.
Right.
And yeah, and these people are very, very annoyed about all these terrorist attacks, and they're very annoyed that the reaction from the establishment is effectively grin and bear it. Mm-hmm. And I mean, we see that a lot from the regressive media, where they're literally like, you know what we need to do? Nothing. And it's like, nah. Yeah. Not sure that's going to wash.
Right. Well, I mean, I just wonder if there's got to be a different tact taken at this point. So I know politicians can be slow to do that. I'm just wondering, as someone who lives in Europe, if the temperature of the water with, the people is that of, like, I know at some point, it's whispered and then it becomes action. Is it at the point of people whispering, like, yeah, you know what, I'm tired of this Islam terrorism?
There are definitely, I mean, you've got the alt-right that are very, very, very pro kicking Muslims out of Europe.
Right.
I'm not alt-right, but I'm definitely see the problem we have with this is that we don't really know why they're doing it, because if you notice that like with the Orlando shooter, many of these people who commit themselves to ISIS don't really seem to have any actual ties to ISIS, and they don't. Right. The only thing that we really get is that they downloaded some ISIS propaganda from the internet, and so it seems to be people self-radicalizing, or at least some of them seem to be self-radicalizing without actually having any ties to any larger terrorist organizations. And this has been something that's come out of a few of these now, and a lot of these people seem to have had mental or emotional issues as well. Mm-hmm. And so it's kind of it's the Islam is kind of, I mean, it's not necessarily that this is an Islamic thing, although it is obviously deeply tied to Islam.
Yeah.
It's that these people are probably doing what any religious zealots would end up doing if for some reason they felt that they needed to atone in a religious way for any sins or misdemeanors or anything they've committed. I think it's quite easy for them to then say, right, okay, well, if I just kill the kuffars and, kill myself, I'll be a martyr, I'll get to go to heaven. But the thing is, we never catch any of these people alive, so we don't actually know why they're doing it.
But that is a distinctly Muslim thing, to atone for sins. The only guaranteed, shot to heaven is through jihad, right? So
I was trying to be diplomatic. It is a Muslim.
It's okay.
It is a very Muslim thing.
Yes,
but it's.
Well, here's something I would throw at you.
It's not necessarily something all Muslims are going to do or in danger of doing.
No, they're not.
I was trying to stress.
Yes. No, you're right. Listen, obviously not all Muslims, but I would...
I didn't want to go down the not all.
Yes, exactly. I understand it. Listen, don't worry about it. Now, you're with friends here. Here's my thing, though. We had a woman on who was leaving. We had to keep her name covered up because she had left Islam and her husband was trying to take her children. She said, listen, it's very common, and I watched people in Canada who laughed when the World Trade Center towers hit. I spoke with a lot of Muslims who were like, well, it's not necessarily a bad thing. She said, listen, when it comes down to siding with the Taliban or the United States, she said, nearly everyone sides with these, what they view as pseudo-terrorist organizations, but they view as a result of destabilization of the West. She goes, almost invariably behind closed doors, this is what these people are going to say. This is why all mosques can act as Sharia courts. Not every imam is a Sharia judge, but every mosque has to have at least one, or it can't be a mosque. They're acting within their own system of law. So my thing is, I don't think it's necessarily self-radicalizing through mental illness. It doesn't require terrorism from their families and their directly surrounding support structures for it to be, okay, next step this.
Yeah, I wouldn't say they're self-radicalizing through mental illness. I think It's people who are, and I wouldn't even necessarily term this as mental illness.
Okay.
But some sort of people, the sort of people that you meet who are maybe a bit high strung, and yeah, like Jared.
Yeah.
No, but they're not necessarily mentally ill, but the thing with these sort of ideologies is they can make good people do bad things, and they can make people who aren't necessarily good people think it's perfectly okay to do terrible things.
Mm-hmm.
And it is about Islam. I mean, they obviously think that they're going to die, go to heaven, become martyred, all their sins will be forgiven. I mean, this is why, like with the 9/11 attackers, people are like, well, they can't have been real Muslims because they were out drinking and smoking and seeing prostitutes. It's like, yeah, but you have to understand, they think all of these sins are going to be washed away.
Exactly.
So they can go and indulge in whatever they want, and now God's going to clean their soul, or however it works.
It's sort of like the early Catholic Church with the indulgences, only pipe bombs.
Absolutely. And you're right when you say it's an Islamic thing that they go and kill the kuffars. It's not something that other religions do, but with other religions, you would have a different response from a sinner who wants to atone for their sins in the religion. A Buddhist monk might go and live on top of a mountain for the rest of his life or something. I don't know.
Right.
But in Islam, and this is what drives me crazy when people say Islam's a religion of peace. It's like, based on what? Based on what? How many Muslim countries have a scimitar on their flag? Just out of interest. They'll have something like, something in Arabic, probably God is great, and then a scimitar. And it's like, yes, this is a religion of peace. And it's like, I don't know about that. I mean, it seems like kind of a warlike ideology.
Right.
That came out of the 7th century.
Let me ask you this, because you're a very, I was just talking with Nake Jared about this. You have a very high play count for someone with your subscribership on YouTube, and you're one of the few things that if you pop up in my feed without me checking my subscriptions, I'll watch because of what you have to say. You're insightful, you're thoughtful. So I think a lot of people really like what you have to say, and obviously you're a very thoughtful, atheist. We've had some discussions on that, which hopefully we'll have more. Let me ask you this, though. From a purely pragmatic standpoint, I think you and I both agreed that Europe is significantly more secular than the United States, right?
Oh, yeah.
Would you think, would it be reasonable to say that Europe's secularism has somewhat made it vulnerable to the encroachment of Islam?
I wouldn't say so. Okay. If anything, I think Europe's secularism is eventually what's going to destroy Islam.
Okay. Because it's been faster there, obviously, than the one place where it isn't happening yet is the United States.
Yeah, but that's not because it won't. That's because you don't have very many Muslims. One thing that I find very interesting about many Muslims who come to the United Kingdom, and I can't speak for other places in Europe, obviously, but I definitely know about Muslims in the United Kingdom because I went to university in Coventry. This was in 2001, and there was already a very large Muslim population there. And there was just this pattern you kept seeing where the parents would be incredibly Islamic, and they would require their child to go to the mosque and all this sort of thing. And when the child was away from their parents, they were very, very English. Mm-hmm. And they had no interest in religion. They had no compunction from drinking or anything like that. And it was pressure put on them by the parents. Now, I mean, this isn't every single case, obviously. Hashtag not all.
Right. That's necessary. Otherwise, it'd be on the Young Turks highlight reel.
Yeah, I know. Tell me about it, man. It pisses me off that every time, oh my God, it's every single one. I didn't say every one.
No.
Anyway. And so I think, honestly, a lot of these young people were very happy with the sort of English way of doing things, sort of just the secular free society. It's a lot, and one thing about it, it's a lot less highly strung. It's a lot of work to police someone else's actions. We don't have to do it.
I think, though, I would disagree in the sense that I think you've seen it that way. I think most people with sort of a Western mindset would see it as, hey, listen, a free secular society. I think a lot of Muslims, especially being raised with a lot of them in my high school at Centennial, see it as a weakness, as this decadent sort of the more secular, the more godless society it is. We can fill that void. Whereas in the United States, there isn't that same void because there are sort of there's the Judeo-Christian backbone, which, like I said, is still more so there than Europe, just from a pragmatic standpoint, where it's not a hole that they feel they can fill so readily. I just felt that living in Canada versus the United States, that was a big part of sort of keeping it at bay. I could be wrong. I was just wondering your thoughts as a Brexiter.
Well, honestly, I'm actually not worried about the sort of religious encroachment of it, because like I was saying, most Muslims seem to be fairly secular that have been raised here, and British people are not interested in religion. They are just not interested. It's quite social taboo.
But they are interested in the religion of tolerance and of political correctness.
Well, yeah, there is that. But nobody wants to hear about God. Nobody wants to hear about God.
But my point is they filled that void, a lot of them, with, well, my ultimate God is political correctness and tolerance, and let's make sure this is our #1 priority, and that's where their loyalties lie, and that's easily exploited. I mean, you see it with, you see it with Bernie Sanders.
Well, yeah, but I mean, they're not converting the native British populace to Islam, basically. I mean, there are some British people who become Muslims.
But they're able to subvert their laws.
To find acceptance.
You know what I mean? They're able to subvert their laws more readily.
These people are generally losers, to be honest. They're generally people who aren't very well accepted, who don't have many friends, and who are looking for something to join. They're the same sort of people who become Mormons after they knock on your door or something.
Oh, God.
But most people are just not interest.
I'm going to get letters. But, I'm going to get letters from men on bikes in short ties.
I'm going to get letters from, I'll get nasty emails from the Mormons. I'm not worried about them converting the natives.
Not about converting, but that's what's allowed them. See, you guys are like, I think, not you, obviously, specifically. Again, not all British.
Not all Sargons.
But the point is, when you look at sort of the systemic approach in Europe of, we need to be tolerant. Well, leave a mosque. Well, we need to leave a mosque. What about Sharia courts? Let them do their thing. We want to be tolerant. And so this sort of secular religion of tolerance, and Muslims are going, that's great. We can exploit this. Let's make sure to put it under the guise of tolerance, and it'll be allowed. Whereas in the United States, there is some of, no, we're not going to tolerate that.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that I do get annoyed about is the constant pandering. That really, really annoys me. We don't pander to any other religious minority or religious demographic in any way. And so I really don't like to see pandering to Muslims just because they're complaining. To me, the answer should just be no.
Yes. Well, hold on a second. We have to go to a break, and we'll keep that in mind. What a novel concept. The answer, no. Thought about that. Same like with parents. Like, can I have pants with juicy written across my butt? No. Can I have Sharia court? No.
No.
Solve some problems. Sargon of Akkad. More after this.
Well, there you are. You're still here. You're watching this podcast on YouTube, likely. Did you miss the live stream Thursday nights at 8 p.m. on YouTube or Facebook? Either way, you can also subscribe on iTunes, SoundCloud for the audio version with additional commercials and take it with you on the go. Or louderwithcrowder.com, which is mobile friendly, so you can take it with you wherever. It's pretty cool. Isn't that right, Hopper? He likes it. Okay, but you're driving later, that's enough.
You're a strange animal, that's what I know. But you're a strange animal, I got to follow. Oh, I'm in this.
Glad to be back. Sargon of Akkad. That's his YouTube channel. Just run a search. You'll find him. Sorry, we have to go to our evil corporate overlords. Not to get off the beaten path because we were talking about Europe. We were talking about the Young Turks. We have a video this week on the Young Turks. You were once a viewer of the Young Turks. I don't want to misrepresent you. Okay.
I was indeed. Many moons ago, I used to enjoy their content because it wasn't crazy and it was left wing, and I thought, wow, this is rare. Someone on the left who isn't crazy. And I mean, go back and watch some of their stuff from about, I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago. It's pretty reasonable. And
I disagree.
Of course,
I think you've changed. You know why? Well, here's why. Because they would attack me back then and not have me on to defend myself. I remember they did a debate. Google Lee Doran. With Lee Doran, he was How the World Works. This is back in like 09, 010. And it was just, back then, it was still like, he didn't scream it, but he had a moderator, and it was just them two versus Lee. I think I understand what you're, like, it's more obviously unhinged on the obvious.
Just more pronounced now.
Yes, and you've moved on.
He used to be a lot more relaxed. He used to be less of an arse. And I guess that now he's pretty deep in his positions. And I think it's more about protecting the narrative than it is really being correct now. Because back, a few years ago, he used to actually care about the facts, but now it's about not all. Yeah. Of course, right? Oh, Jesus, Cenk, shut up. Just shut up.
Listen, no, listen. Okay, right? That's what it is. You don't even talk. Just do the research. We're not going to put it up. It'll be up later because we're trying to have a conversation.
But they didn't used to be so bad. And now they've been getting worse. To the point where Alex Jones can go and troll them and they fall for it.
Yes. The Young Turks make Alex Jones into a sympathetic figure. Though it wasn't Alex Jones, it was more so Roger Stone that seemed to bother them for some.
Who is Roger Stone? I don't really know who that is.
He worked with the Trump campaign, right, Jared? And he doesn't, but they're friends.
He used to work for Clinton, I think, way back when.
And then he worked with Trump.
Then he's his campaign manager or something, or strategist. Then he was fired, but still kind of.
He's some kind of correspondent
cool
for Jones, Alex Jones. I don't know. Yeah. I would definitely disagree with the idea that they used to be more fact-based, just because I've always disagreed with them and would always be, and I had friends who they would debate or attack, and I was going, well, no, that's not even true. That's not even what they said. But back then there were no channels to counter it. You know what I mean? It was like, it didn't matter. It's just like they said, well, it could be something as, I don't know if they actually said this, but something like someone says Detroit's unemployment is 28%. That's not true. It's 11%. Look it up. And they would do that back then, and it just wasn't true. And I just don't think people were able to go, like, is that not true? Whereas now we have people like you.
It's been a while since I've watched them as a fan, so I'd have to look. I'd have to look. But yeah, I don't know. I'd have to check.
Well, yeah.
But they didn't seem so bad. But these days.
He wasn't as explosively angry.
No.
I would say they were just as inaccurate, but I think he's definitely... I've talked about this. This is entirely conjecture. Okay, but if you see the eyes that are glassy, bloodshot, he's gained weight, sweating profusely, and very, very emotional and temperamental. I wouldn't be surprised if there's some kind of an issue there that's more than meets the eye. Hey,
health issue,
substance issue.
Oh, substance issue.
I'm just saying. I've as a comedian, I've been around it a lot. And, like, that's the thing, is that your serotonin levels, and it's just like, you're sitting there, it's like, oh, okay, and you just freak out. So I have noticed that for sure. He's much quicker to anger.
Well, I mean, I don't know anything about any substance issues, but honestly, I think it's about the environment he's in. He's in a very closed environment where everyone agrees with him. Mm-hmm. And then when you get, like, Ben Mankiewicz is his name?
He seems nice.
He's a lot more reasonable. He's like, no, Cenk, I disagree with you on this. I think you're wrong. Cenk will just shout him down. It's just like, oh, Christ, man.
I can't watch him though either.
Who,
that
Ben?
guy, Ben, no.
He's not particularly dynamic, but he seems like a decent person.
But he comes off to me as a guy who, like, works at Home Depot in the afternoon, and the guy shows up. He's like, hey, met you at the potluck once. You got some thoughts?
Put you on the show.
Do you got a blazer?
Apparently he's a co-founder of the thing.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, was behind the scenes? I don't know. I was just asking because I've noticed a lot of people saying that, like, coming on my channel. I'm sure you see, I used to be a Young Turks watcher, but insert story here. And, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, absolutely. I was just agreeing. I get dozens and dozens of people like that as well. I probably get a lot more than you do because I'm left wing,
But I don't. Well, okay, here's one thing. I remember you, last time you were on, you're like, if you had to, you'd go Bernie. And I said, I don't think that's going to last because I said, I don't think you realize he is the social justice warrior candidate.
Yeah.
So did you regret that afterward? Do you think like
I didn't regret it. I didn't know he was going to come out and say something like, white people don't know what it's like to be poor.
Right.
Sorry, Bernie, you've lost me now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally and don't get me wrong, I mean, I think his heart's in the right place. I think Bernie's heart's in the right place.
Right.
I don't think necessarily he's got the answers or anything like that. And I don't understand at all what he's gone and done with Hillary. I mean, I find this the most baffling thing in the world. He spends his entire campaign, and his entire career, arguing against Wall Street, and then he endorses Hillary Clinton.
But, I mean, that should be your answer.
Well, yeah, absolutely. I just don't get it. It's just the most baffling thing in the world to me. And then for some reason, Hillary Clinton, she didn't take him as her VP, did she?
No, she didn't. She took Mr. Cain. Because she's a bitch.
She must be, but it just strikes me as a terrible political blunder. I mean, Bernie's supporters, his hardcore supporters, a lot of them are very anti-Clinton.
Well, have you been following the DNC leaks?
I have been following the DNC leaks.
So, I mean, it's pretty clear there. I just don't think they were ever going to kiss and make up. Mostly because she's more interested in kissing Elizabeth Warren. But I think that lesbian. Sargon, where's the best place for people to find you? It's always too short, but we have to go to a break here.
Oh, really? We're out of time already. Just Google Sargon of Akkad. You'll find me.
Google Sargon of Akkad. Well, not Jared. We can since people know this is pre-taped because it's across the pond. We can do a short web extended for people if they want.
Why not?
We can get into the New World Order.
That would be good.
Give him some of our Jew money.
Jew money's good.
What's that?
You can break the conditioning.
Yes. No, I think you're right. That's one of those things. That's always why it's interesting talking with you, because even if we don't line up politically, there still is something to gain from it. I guess I don't even think that Europeans are looking at this in that way. So Sargon of Akkad, people listening terrestrially on my channel, louderwithcrowder.com for more.
And now for Swiss Family Robinson, the second generation.
Sweetie, the banana telephone isn't working. None of the electrics are working.
Darn it. Okay, hold on, Elizabeth. Fritz Jr., did you fix the electricity problem?
Yeah, I got it hooked up.
What did you do?
I made some electricity.
Did you get the proper capturing device, the rotating paddles into moving water to create enough of an electrical current?
I put a paddle in a pond.
Damn it, Fritz Jr. Elizabeth, you see what your son did? Oh, I see. When he does something right, he's your son. When he misbehaves, he's just your brother.
Stay tuned for more Swiss Family Robinson, the second generation.
Get excited. Here we go.
All right, glad to be back. Second hour. We're in the second hour.
This is the second hour.
That's right. We're in the second hour. Producing with me in Video Studio, as always, is Jared, who is not gay. Follow him at NotGayJared. Blah, 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 blah. So,
I'm sorry. Hey, Dean.
Hey.
What are you doing? We booked you.
Right, I know. And here I am. Now, hold on one sec. I'm ready to go. Anytime you guys are ready.
Yeah, it's next hour though. Are you gonna be around? Call you back? Next hour?
I'll just stay on. I can just stay on. We can just rap while.
No,
while
it doesn't. It can't. It doesn't.
No, he
Steven.
can't stay on. Have him call back.
I'll call you back.
Do it during
Okay.
the break. Okay. All right. Let's fix that.
Maybe we'll bring him up earlier.
We'll bring him. Well, let's bring him a little earlier. Okay. So we were talking about this with Sargon of Akkad. We had a video this week at louderwithcrowder.com on the Young Turks. Parody of the Young Turks, Cenk, Anita Sarkeesian. Here's something I've noticed. People like Sargon, a lot of people out there, well, probably people like Milo, a lot of people on YouTube who were once fans. We get a lot of comments like this on the Young Turks. Something I should preface this with. If it seems like we're bullying or piling on the Young Turks with this video that we did, every single person in that video has been attacked, basically slandered by the Young Turks.
Usually there's video evidence.
Yes.
On the Young Turks
on
show.
the Young Turks. Obviously yours truly, Skag3, Ben Shapiro, of course, Karen Strawn. He asked her to make him a sandwich. Dave Rubin. Need we say more? So these are people finally getting their shots in. Because, Young Turks slanders. They lie about people's positions. They misrepresent them. And then they give them no recourse.
They call it a day.
Yeah, they call it a day. They give you no chance to come on. We've had a lot of people on with whom we've disagreed. Zach Ford came on the show. D.L. Hughley came on the show. Christopher Titus came on the show.
And I'm still friends. I still talk to Zach every now and again.
Yeah, and Christopher Titus and I still actually speak as much as I know people won't believe it. We'll have him back. Yeah. And Sally Cohn will be on the show. So specifically, if we say something that is very inaccurate and people say that's not what I said, Jake Tapper did that, and I always retweeted him and welcomed him on the show. I know he probably won't come on the show, and what I said about him was entirely accurate. He is a journalistic hack, and he is in the DNC pocket, even though he tries to play it down the middle. So that's what's important about the Young Turks. So I get a lot of comments from people saying, I used to be a fan. And you hear this with Sargon, and a lot of people say, I think they just went downhill. Here's the deal. I don't believe they've gone downhill. Now, let me make my case. I think people have just been awakened because I've always been a conservative, more or less, conservative libertarian, right? I've been on YouTube since 2009, and they were always there. It was them and pretty much everybody else.
I think they've been around since 2002. Started the radio show.
Radio show. But I mean, on YouTube, really, they still only had
2000.
They didn't have that many subscribers by the time we got into 2009, 2010, 2011.
YouTube wasn't what it is today, though.
No, it wasn't what it is today at all. But I would watch them attack friends of mine. I would watch them back then and go, "Gosh, how are these guys doing these hatchet jobs?" So, have they really changed? Well, here's the thing. People thought I was making it up. Here's the actual article that Cenk Uygur made for the Daily Pennsylvanian. I have it up on my screen about the Armenian genocide. He did deny the Armenian genocide. Now, people make mistakes when they're younger. He wasn't that young there, and he hasn't reverted. He hasn't said, you know what, I was wrong. You know what, okay, right, I was wrong. Did the Armenian genocide occur? Of course it occurred. He hasn't done that yet.
Let's be reasonable.
Let's be reasonable here, okay, right? Of course. I know people are going to say, you wrote one time, oh, they made a mistake. Okay, no. So I don't ever want to do that again if I'm not in wardrobe. It shortchanges it. So back then we knew he was an Armenian genocide denier. He always claimed to be a progressive. Not a liberal, a progressive. I watched him with my good friend Lee Dorn. Now, I love Lee Dorn. I'm certainly not throwing him under the bus. Lee Dorn is brilliant, smarter than I am. But Lee Dorn is too nice. So back when there weren't many conservatives on YouTube, I used to watch Cenk attack Lee Dorn, of course, and myself, and he would bring out Lee Dorn to debate, and he would have a moderator who was just entirely in his back pocket. So I was watching this when people thought this was while they were moderate. So let's roll the first clip, not gay, Jared.
This
and
is an important distinction. He thought the idea, their methods of winning over the public was wrong in the fact of, examples of flag burning and stuff like that. He thought that you had to work within the system in order to bring down society because the general public would not accept the radical methods that were currently being used.
This is why no conservatives work at Young Turks.
You're laughing,
Listen,
but I read Rules for Radicals, and that's exactly what he said.
He never talked once. I just read the book. He never talked about bringing down society.
Yes, he did.
Yes, he did. See, that's the thing. That's amazing. Because, anyway, let me tell you why I brought it up, and then we can have a separate debate on what Elizabeth
So
said.
that's the first thing, just to give you. This is during opening statements. And Cenk this is in 2011. There are clips that go back to 2010, 2009. They weren't very good quality. You can see Cenk already. These are opening statements. They're not even debating yet. And Cenk is already getting into his mode of, that's not true. Let's go to clip number 2. Again, I want you to tell me if they've changed, or maybe the people out there, if you were their fans, maybe you just have evolved. That's important because I'm going to tie it all together at the end. Let's roll clip number 2.
We'd cut taxes for the rich. We'd cut taxes for corporations.
It would be one thing if he actually said, "This is what I want. This is what
Very
they
reasonable
want.
from
Mine's
Lee.
better." But he hasn't done that.
No.
And it's not. No, but and not only that, it's not
Eye
even
roll.
like it's not even like they've actually
Turning to the audience.
Either side has come up with a plan. We have a
Laughing.
political stalemate, which is it's a political problem that we have, not necessarily a policy problem.
Lee and I debate every once in a while. We do these YouTube things, and Reuters had us and stuff. It drives me crazy. Okay, because it's just not true.
I'm just asking.
Like
specifically, you can't tell me, and no one can tell me what his specific plan is.
See, it's just not true. It's just not true. People act as though, people always want to act, they look back and go, they were better back then, like SNL. SNL was better back when? No, SNL has just as much crap. You're just watching the best of now.
Yeah.
I'm going to get crap. Dan Aykroyd was never funny. There were plenty of funny people. Bill Murray, obviously, Martin Short. Dan Aykroyd was never one of them. If you go back and watch most of those sketches, Too Wild and Crazy, they're not funny. They weren't funny in their time. They're not funny now. Some of it was funny. Some of SNL is funny today. A lot of these people who now just don't really want to admit that they were young, full-on social justice leftists think the Young Turks have gone off the reservation. No, you've moved on, which is important.
Grown up.
You've grown up
Congratulations.
a little bit. Let's go to another clip. Now they start getting into the actual debate, and you can see Cenk back in 2010, back in 2011, doing exactly what he does today that liberals think he's somehow become more extreme. No, he's always done it. Watch it.
We're going to cut spending to the bone, and we're going to cut taxes on the rich. So if they think that's the middle, they're 100% wrong about where the country is, and I got no interest in that bullshit middle. That's for CNN, okay? Where they go, he said this and she said that, so I'm going to say it in the middle.
Okay, so there you go. Right there he's saying people, a lot of them think they were moderate in the middle. He said I'm a progressive. I don't see the middle at all. This is, again, Young Turks. This is important for people to note. All of these things. Go back through the archives. They haven't gone off the reservation. You have this is the crescendo here. This is the last clip, right? Not, Jared?
Yep.
This is the last clip. Again, this was my friend Lee Dorn. So I've been watching this since 2009, 2010. So I'm glad to see people awaken now with the Young Turks. But I've been watching this all along, going, is it me? This is how Cenk used to debate, and you can't find anyone more reasonable than Lee Dorn. He's an agnostic, atheist, most likely, libertarian. Okay? Here you go.
People get hooked on that money. So even if it becomes like, hey, you know what? Geez, I read all these scientific reports and it looks like there's global warming. On the other hand, I get paid $200,000 a year to say there is no global warming, right? So it's a mixture of all those things. You got to keep it real.
I mean, let me just address the Koch brothers.
Oh, he's talking. Okay, so this is the important preface. We're supposed to start here. He was talking about the Koch brothers. This is back when Cenk was taking money from Soros, Al Jazeera, Current TV, Al Gore, but his big gripe was the Koch brothers.
Very free market advocate. To the best of my knowledge, I could be wrong, but I think he even donates some of his money to the ACLU. I mean, these aren't like what most people would expect when they think of just big businessmen. And to the best of my knowledge, they're also against the subsidies and that sort of thing.
Except the ones they're taking.
No.
They take a ton of subsidies.
There's a big difference.
They love fixing the system.
Watch what he does.
They
He
love
does exactly what he does
fixing the
today.
market when it's to their advantage.
He completely fabricates
they
a
love
quote.
it.
Here it
They're
comes.
the biggest frauds. Libertarian my ass. If there is a politician they can buy to get an advantage over their competitors, they will do it in a second. They have. They do it all the time. The other day, they actually came out and said, you know what? Out of the mercy of our hearts, since we're looking to fix the deficit, if it's included in a big package, we will give up some of our subsidies. Wow, are you not merciful? And they said it, Lee. They said,
how much do you want to bet whenever Cenk says, just the other day they came out and they said that they didn't say that? That they did not, in fact, say that. So I said, why is this important? For a lot of the YouTubers out there, who we get a lot of comments. I used to hate Steven and like the Young Turks, and now I think they've just become more extreme. No, I'm telling you, I haven't changed. My views really haven't changed. I am just as right-wing as ever. I don't lie about it. Unlike the Young Turks, I say, hey, anyone is allowed on this forum. Obviously, now we can't be debating every Twitter egg. But if you feel as though we've unfairly represented you, we generally provide a platform, but it's under an honest pretense. Listen, this is my point of view. I believe it, and I'll defend it, and I'll concede when I'm wrong. So we're very straight. The opposite of the Young Turks, who are as far left as can be, claiming that they aren't. We're actually I'm probably actually further right wing than many of you even think. But I claim it, or I'm probably more moderate than many of you think. But I say, just assume I'm to the right of Attila the Hun. This is why it's important. You can see they've never changed. So what has changed? You. So a lot of these people now, they're still claiming, well, I'm a liberal, but I don't like the Young. I'm not a social justice leftist. I'm a liberal atheist. Does it stand to reason, Your Honor, that if you thought the Young Turks were moderate back then, they haven't changed. We've just proven it. You have. Leave some room. Maybe down the line when you have family, when you pay more taxes, or if you start running a business, you might become actually conservative. You might become a Christian. Statistically, it's much more, as you get older, you become more conservative. People don't tend to convert to atheism. They tend to be. Now, I'm not trying to convert you at all. I'm not trying to convert you, okay? What I'm saying is, if they haven't changed, you have changed. A lot of people don't like to accept that. I've changed. I was wrong. If you think the Young Turks have ever evolved, that's wrong. You have evolved. That's great. So now you can open your mind to further evolution. Because guess what? Watch the DNC like we talked about. There's no place for you there if you aren't a part of the social progressive left. The right is a much wider tent. You've got Milo, you've got me, you've got Koch brothers, you've got Gary Johnson. There's room for everybody. We've got one more segment, and then Dean Cain.
Yep, then Dean Cain. We'll bring him on.
Get him right.
All right.
at Large on the Nature Network, narrated by Jasper Pronk.
Oh, the blue whale, Earth's largest mammal, is one of its most revered as well as misunderstood. Of all the mysteries of the ocean, the blue whale is still one of its most wondrous creations. Majestic and intimidating upon first sight, the blue whale is one of Earth's most gentle giants, where instead of hunting other fish or mammals, they choose to consume their food through baleen plates, through the form of krill and small plankton, on occasion capable of eating upward of 8,000 pounds of krill in one Look at that. Do you see that blue whale just eating everything in its path, just going right down the gullet? I tell you, that could be wife number two's sister.
Damn it, Jasper.
No, you met her that one time when we went out to Bavette's Steakhouse. Remember that?
I don't remember her sister.
No, her sister wasn't there. I was using that as an analogy. She was ballooning up like a whale when you met her. Remember? When I first met her, she was quite the dish.
Jasper, I want to get out of here on time.
You know who always wanted to get out of work on time? Was my ex-wife, number two, because she wanted to make happy hour where it was 2-for-1 appetizers down there at Derby Station. You remember their happy hour, right?
Of course, but just do the lines.
I remember they used to have those buffalo-flavored egg rolls, and she would just consume those right like this whale right here. Just everything in her path. She'd rack up a bill and have a couple of martinis while she was at it, my God.
Just say the lines.
And you know what she'd do after that martini? She would hit on the bartender. I'm not even joking. Right in front of me. She'd hit on that bartender. I should have seen the warning signs coming. She's still with that man. Chubby chaser he is.
My God, Jasper, just read the lines.
I tell you what Sarah doesn't have in common with this whale. There's no mystery at all. Didn't take the Hardy Boys to find out that she was just some gold-digging whore.
Stay tuned for more Wild at Large on the Nature Network, narrated by Jasper Pronk.
Glad to be back. Dean Cain coming up after the break.
Dean Cain.
All right. So we've talked about the DNC. We've talked about the Black Lives Matter. The Freddie Gray. Not Gay Jared has screwed up monumentally several times, for which he will be fired.
Mm-hmm.
I need a sip of water. I didn't do it during that break.
What's up? What's up?
What are you talking about?
That right there.
Oh, I have no idea what you're talking about.
No, something. It's on your chin.
Yeah, I don't know. There's no mug club coming, and people shouldn't request anything daily. We've been over this. There's no exploratory committee.
It's absurd.
We're not. It's absurd, and it's offensive.
It's pushy.
It's very pushy for the fans to ask us to go daily. Don't ever ask us on the Twitter.
Ungrateful.
At @SCrowder, at NotGayJared to go daily. So before the DNC, before it got buried, right? We do this once a week, this show, and Normandy happened. For those of you who don't know, Islam again. For those of you who don't remember, in this instance, it were priests were was it? I don't have the number in front. Was it 2 priests beheaded?
I thought it was 1, but it could have been
2. So this happened in Normandy. We were just talking about this with Sargon. France is an example, and I know Sargon. A lot of people don't think they'll ever get this, as to why multiculturalism doesn't work, as to why forced integration doesn't work. Wanting to accept refugees. Let me give you something. Let me give you an example here. Okay, let me first state my premise. No. But we want to come in. No. You come from countries where you've never gotten your crap together. Get it together there first, and then we'll think about opening our doors. When people talk about immigration and people fleeing these countries, I understand it, but at a certain point in time, you've got to close the hatch. You've got to say, no. We've got to look out for our own citizens here first. Normandy, let me give you an example. Someone comes from a country where it's war-torn, where Sharia law rules, where women are second-class citizens, where gays are burned in cages or thrown off roof tops, where apostasy is punished by death. This is what it's like in France today. If you're expecting these people to assimilate, and it will never happen. A Muslim family living in France or in the UK, they get their own area where white people aren't allowed, where non-Muslims aren't allowed, unless you're Cat Stevens and you convert your name as Yusuf Islam. Then, of course, we welcome you with open arms, but we don't do music. It depends on the sect. So they live in their houses. They go to their mosques. They have the women cook and clean. The women are at the man's every beck and call. Women are grossly abused. It goes entirely unreported. The women have no recourse to any kind of spousal abuse in a marriage. If the man wants to divorce her, he needs to say it 3 times. All of this is handled through Sharia courts. The boys sit in front of the woman when it comes to going in the car. They get to eat first. Men get priority. Temporary marriages. These people talk behind closed doors. They are far less tolerant of gay people than any Christian you could possibly imagine. They are far less tolerant of apostasy. They live in their own horrible cultural bubble. It's just a horrible culture what Islam creates. We're not talking about a race. We're talking about ideas, and those are always fair to criticize. As a matter of fact, it's your moral obligation to criticize them. So this is how these people live. And then, boom, open the door, and they're going out into society. They're going out into French society. These people aren't going to assimilate. They don't want to be a part of French society. They don't want to be a part of Western civilization. Imagine that. Here, you don't have a problem with people immigrating from Denmark, from Sweden, from even Spain, anywhere else, right? Where people, there's some semblance, there's some baseline level of what is expected in a civilized society that just isn't with the Islamic world, because the Islamic world is effectively a third world. There are really no new world Islamic countries outside of Qatar, funders of Young Turks, where it's built on the backs of slavery. It basically still is a slave state. So it's not the same. It's not the same as someone coming from Britain to America. It's not the same as someone from Ireland going to Germany. It's not the same, and that's why you're running into these problems. It is so remarkably clear to me, if people want to be honest about this, that multiculturalism cannot work. You need to come to a country, you need to learn a language, you need to obey the laws, you need to abandon any ideas, any superseding law, whether it's Sharia, whether you're a part of some kind of a commune that maybe allows bigamy, that isn't allowed in this country. If it's allowed in the country, go nuts. You abandon that, and it needs to be documented. In other words, when you become a citizen, people need to know that there are those reasonable expectations, and then you're welcome to come. If not, you're not welcome. You're not welcome in Western civilized society. It's one of those things people don't. Well, I just don't know why they. You talk about people who are mentally unfit, who often go on shooting sprees, right? We talk about how. What do we often talk about? Mental health, right? Not Jared, and isolation. Mm-hmm. They were very isolated. They weren't really active. They weren't really active outside of their
communities, integrating their families, integrated in their schools.
But typically, they're very active in one community. That's why they remember in the '90s it was the gaming community. They just doom. They were really active in these communities, and so they weren't active in the community at large, right? Well, think what's worse than the Islamic community, where all mosques act as Sharia courts, and women are treated like crap. They're not active in the overall French community. They are entirely isolated. So we're going to talk about someone who's isolated because he didn't have a girlfriend and he played video games and wasn't a part of the Rotary Club. But we're not going to act like an entire family that doesn't speak any kind of a common language, that doesn't even respect the laws of the country to the place where they've immigrated, mind you. They bring the crap with them. They just make these countries crappier. They flee. It's like Californians going to Texas. They flee California because there's no economy there anymore, the same way that it used to be. They go to places like Texas because they want no state income tax. They like the freedom. They like the low cost of living. And then all of a sudden they want to turn Texas into California. That's what Muslims do, only with rapes and beheadings.
I'm not sure. Was it Sweden or no? Is it Switzerland? The one they left. They're like, oh, this sucks.
Finland.
Yeah.
Finland. It was Finland.
They got it going on.
They walked into Finland.
Picked it right.
And they packed up their stuff and left. But Norman, if you're being reasonable, if you're being rational, of course these incidents are going to happen. France is a perfect example here. You've had 3 attacks, 3 major attacks in the last year. Charlie Hebdo, was that within the last calendar year at this point? I would think so.
I
think it was last
a little over
fall.
a year ago, I think now. I think we honored a year somewhat recently.
Okay. So that,
I think.
And then obviously we had the massacre with the truck, and then Normandy. We act as though we're shocked. We bring in people who've come from countries where this has always been their practice. They've never gotten it right. And we're surprised when they bring it to Western civilization. We go forward with Black Lives Matter, and we say that there are 6 murderers in the form of police officers who've been dealt no justice, and they're on the loose. These people are murderers. They're murdering your black children just because. And then we're surprised that someone goes off and kills these murderers. I don't know what people expect when you talk this way and you set this narrative. How else do you expect it to turn out with the way you're engineering people? to the information you were giving them. And I don't know if it's knowingly false. I've got to imagine it's knowingly false. People can't all be that stupid. Someone who's smart coming up after the break. Dean Cain, scheduled this time.
This is breaking news on Louder with Crowder. I'm Perry Matheson. Officially declared the DNC nominee. We take you now live to an exhibition where Hillary Clinton will physically break through a glass ceiling as a representation of this historic moment. Oh, it's most peculiar. Hillary Clinton doesn't appear to be breaking the glass ceiling, but she is having her security escorted off stage. Jimmy, let's get a camera on that and follow them as they appear to be transporting the glass ceiling out to an unmarked SUV in the parking lot. They are now placing the glass ceiling in the SUV, and it appears to be cutting the brakes to the vehicle and turning it on while placing it in neutral on a slight hill. The Secret Service is now pushing it down said hill in what can only be described for terrestrial listeners as what would resemble the beginning of a bobsled run. And it appears the SUV has gone off the cliff. The glass ceiling that was once a barrier for all women has officially been broken in true Clinton fashion. We'll keep you abreast as the story unfolds. I'm Perry Matheson.
Wake up, it's fun.
Reach the wizard.
It's fun. Wake up.
Glad to be back. Glad to have this next guest. He was on before anyone was really listening. He's been very good to the show. We ask far too much of him. You can follow him. You know him at Real Dean Cain because they're imposters. Mr. Dean Cain, thank you for being with us, sir.
Thank you much. Happy to be here again. And congratulations, Stephen, for going daily now.
Nope. It's the opposite of that. We are never, ever, ever going daily. But I appreciate the congratulations. But it's a nasty, nasty rumor.
You've been doing really well. It's been going well, so I would not be surprised if you went daily.
Well, it's never happening. So drop it.
All right.
Thank you for being on the show.
It's rude.
Can I say one quick thing?
What?
You know, your opening dance moves? Stephen, you got some moves. Jared,
I know.
dancing, bro.
Did you
it's
dance?
rough. I'm
I couldn't even
sorry.
watch you.
I'm
I was
sorry.
so absorbed in the moment.
Yeah, the head move, little bob going. I've noticed it for a number of the episodes, and I was like, Jared, work it out. We'll go to a club. We'll help you out, man.
Yeah,
okay?
we'll help you out. We'll go to a. I don't think Jared would do very well at a nightclub. Can you imagine not get Jared in a mosh pit?
Oh,
Lord. My God.
There's always got to be somebody on the ground.
Yeah. Take him to a Slayer concert. One of the funniest things I ever saw was I don't know if Josh Barnett is a UFC fighter.
Of course.
And he was in a mosh pit. Yes, he was a heavyweight, and he was in a mosh pit, and the guy was like bumping. He was like, "Oh, let's do this!" And so Josh Barnett literally picked him up above his head and just threw him. And a part of me was like, "Well, you are a professional fighter. You should know better." But another part of me thought, "That's fantastic."
And isn't that always just the balance?
That is the balance of life and this show. So you've been watching, I mean, you must have been watching the RNC, the DNC. You're on Fox a lot. So you do a lot of sort of political commentary, but you're not in the business of endorsing people. And it seems like there's been a lot of that in both the right and the left. Has it been a conscious choice on your behalf? How do you handle this right now in political season, being someone who's open about their views?
It's a hard thing, as someone who is, a celebrity type, so you're going to go do shows and things, and you don't want people watching you and going, oh, I can't stand that guy because he's this political view or to the right or to the left. So it's always a balance. At the same time, you're a citizen, and so you may want to have to say something if you feel strongly about this or that or the other thing. I've been sort of pigeonholed as he's always a Republican, and the truth is I'm not. I'm in California. I'm a declined state. I'm an independent. I'm a true independent. But if you say you're independent in California, be careful, because then you'll be registered in the American Independent Party like I was for one voting cycle and couldn't figure that out.
Really?
So, yeah. And I was like, why can I only vote for these guys? What's going on
Were you
here?
voting for Jill Stein?
I don't even remember who it was, but I was infuriated, and it messed up one voting cycle for me.
Oh gosh.
So I'm a declined estate, and because I'm a small government guy, I'm socially very, very liberal, but fiscally I'm very conservative, and I'm very much on the side of law and order, very much on the side of our military and first responders and firefighters and those guys. And so, I think I'm about where 80% of the country really is, and I think there's 10% on this side, well, maybe 5% this way and 15% the other way or whatever. It's just that there are fringe sides, there's extremists sort of on both sides, left and right, and I'm somewhere sort of in between.
Yes, but I would say, clearly, obviously, if you're on Fox News and people know you and the people who support you are more right-wing, the majority of the Democrat Party now is what I would consider much more fringe, because there's no home for you there, even based on what you described. Only Republicans or conservatives will accept you as one of their own, even if you are socially liberal.
Which is pretty interesting. I do get in a lot of sort of makeup chair arguments in Hollywood, where people will take a very extreme position, and I'll just go, I don't agree with that, whether it's Second Amendment or First Amendment, for the love of God,
right.
and say, or even saying for the love of God, any of that stuff can really escalate into some big conversation. And then my whole thing is like, look, respect other people's views. If you want to discuss it, I'm happy to discuss it, but let's be honest, and let's say sort of non-emotional. People get so emotional, and I'll notice that people will attack me with such vitriol. It's amazing. I'm this incredibly, liberal, and I love everybody, and then you say something that they don't like, and they turn on you. You and your terrible movies, and you suck, and you're ugly, and da da da. And you're like, whoa.
By the way, we wanted to have Mrs. Crowder on with you. Thank you. For those who don't know, we talked about this. Mrs. Crowder wanted to see is it Austin Peterson? The Austin?
No.
Steve Peterson? Wait, sorry. Austin Peterson was a Libertarian for Canada.
Yeah.
Scott Peterson.
Scott Peterson. Sorry, that's
San Quentin. I understand how.
Okay. So it was a film Hillary wanted to see. My wife, Good Hillary, as I call her, it was on Lifetime, and she couldn't find it to download anywhere. So we talked about it on air, and Dean sent her a DVD. It was there the next day. By the way, she loved it, and she's not an easy critic.
The Perfect Husband.
That was it.
Yeah, The Perfect Husband.
She loved it. So I wanted to have her on to talk with, but she's on the road right now doing business. So thank you for doing that, because you just said crappy movies. That one was positively reviewed by the missus.
And it got to her like 2 days later.
It was incredible. Yeah, I don't know many people.
It was like Jimmy John's of movie delivery.
Jimmy John's of movie delivery. Well, one thing I found, tell me if you found this. I am surprised, because it's funny you say that, I literally have had many makeup chair in the makeup chair. Often, the gay makeup artist or wardrobe stylist is remarkably conservative in comparison to the actors. Have you ever encountered that?
Tons. Absolutely.
Yeah,
I could name names, but they still want to work out.
Yes, exactly. And even if the gay marriage thing, but a lot of them are Second Amendment people, and I think a lot of it is maybe a lot of them have come to Hollywood from maybe places that weren't as tolerant, or they were bullied, and they don't want to be bullied anymore. And
or other countries as well, which that's a lot.
I know an Israeli gay wardrobe stylist that shall remain nameless, who I could absolutely pull a Roger Ailes and sue that guy for sexual harassment. But he's very friendly. And he was always like, this, he was like, this thing, I hate them. I effing hate these people. I have guns. I don't understand what and he was like, sit there. But he was so gay. And I was like, oh my, but I can't say this. No, I can't say this because I am gay. I'm supposed to think this or that. And it'll surprise you in the entertainment industry. And most of them are quiet.
It's true. Well, even the actors who are conservative tend to be quiet too. It's interesting though, because anytime I get into a conversation and we start on opposite sides, when we really start talking about the issues, we end up about right here, or maybe we're in the same spot. It's just people are afraid to have the conversations a lot because it gets so polarized from the outset, and not the actual conversation, but the opening. From out of the starting gates, they're over here and you're over here. They don't want to discuss it. And they refuse to have the conversation.
I think again, it's because of people on the left. I've had those conversations. The people who are on the left, even if they're uneducated, they're so used to performing, they just scream and they fail. Oh, how could you say that? and it just goes nowhere. And so even if there's a gay makeup artist who doesn't want to say anything, who's more conservative, it takes one actor who's all in, or director. On the production side, I feel like I've seen a lot of people who are more proactively liberal.
On the production side.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, liberal, like, I guess, especially like agents and managers more so maybe than production.
I thought you were talking about like crew members, because
No.
members tend to be the other side.
Oh, yeah, not the grips.
No, the grips and your lighting guys, those guys tend to be pretty far.
Yeah.
I'll push them further to the right.
Yeah, they're chomping at the bit to test the actor who claims he has 3 black belts.
Yes, they get sick of it.
Do you notice that every actor has multiple black belts and no fights? Do you notice that they're all like Steven Seagal, like, I have all these, and you're like, wow, what's your fight record? Oh, it's in the street, no cameras. You're like, oh. Have you noticed that?
I have noticed that. I'm 0-0, by the way.
Yes.
And no black belts.
Yes, as am I. We had Titus on, Christopher Titus on, and I don't want to speak.
Part of that. Well,
yeah.
He almost had an aneurysm.
I know, and I'm trying to have him back because it wasn't my proudest moment. Even though I wasn't yelling, I was interrupting because I can't let someone say you don't care about 32,000 dead. But I find it funny that right away it's like, oh, both martial arts, both black belts. I was like, I don't have a black belt, but it's Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. It's like 10, 12 years. And if
my son studies that.
Yeah, you told me about that. He does MMA and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Is he training with Rutan?
At Boss Rutan.
Yeah.
At his gym, yeah.
Yeah, Rutan's great. I would love to have him on the show because he's more conservative than people realize.
Amazing. He's hysterical.
Yes.
And he's super smart, and he actually has a fight record.
Yes, he does. He does. And he has no tolerance for Steven Seagal or these people. But I remember whenever you say like, oh yeah, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, if someone else says they do a different martial art, they're like, oh yeah, but I do Taekwondo or I do karate, but it's like the real combat stuff. No one ever says that about Jiu-Jitsu, Judo, wrestling. They just say, oh yeah, I train Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. They're like, but it's real Jiu-Jitsu. It's real Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Because there is no fake Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Yeah. You're a fighter or you're not. It's I don't know what is it with actors, Dean. And maybe this goes back to politics. There's so much BS all the time. I couldn't stand it. Anytime I'd be on set, I would just blow a gasket because it was just constant, just lies and BS.
Well, what is our job as an actor? I mean, it's just that's it. It's all baloney. It's all that sometimes gets frustrating for me. It is. I mean, look, my dad sometimes looks at me. He's like, "I sent you to Princeton so you can become an actor. You idiot."
Well, you've done well for yourself.
Well, I do a lot of writing. I do a lot of other stuff outside of that. But yeah, it's done well. But it's not what you need a Princeton degree for. But that's for everything else outside of life, and that's been a wonderful thing. But actors are just full of baloney because that's our job. We pretend.
What was your degree at Princeton?
History.
Oh, any specific type of history? American history?
I was a few courses short of being an American history major. I was a few courses short of being a Japanese history major because I'm a quarter Japanese. So I was short of both. So I took my comprehensive exams in war and diplomacy. So that's an area that I always find, very fascinating. Whether it's modern day, stories of soldiers in combat, et cetera, or like World War II. Like Normandy is a place. People are talking about where they want to visit in France. I would just, for me to go to Normandy and know what happened to those beaches of Omaha and Nebraska and stuff like that, just go, oh my gosh, it's incredible to sort of be there,
right,
and look at them and know the history that took place. That to me is amazing stuff.
But you're half Japanese, so where do you line up when you look at that history?
Quarter Japanese.
Which side are you rooting for? The Pearl Harbor thing.
The Japanese were there. Pearl Harbor. Let's be honest. Pearl Harbor was a tough. They took a good shot.
Oh God!
I'm kidding. Listen,
too soon, Dean.
Not too soon.
Too
Too soon.
My grandfather was in World War II. I line up very much on the American side.
Yes, no, I know. Well, Canadians, a lot of it. We did Juno Beach is the beach we stormed. Juno was the beach we learned about. And I remember as a kid, this is going to sound terrible and Canadians are going to get so mad, but it's 100% true. Because what was the United States? Was it Omaha and Gold? Which beaches? It was Omaha was the main one. I don't know.
Omaha. Did I said Nebraska, but I don't know if that was right. If that's not right.
I don't know.
I know that. Why is that name in my head? I didn't study specifically World War II.
Right. It's okay, but Juno Beach was a Canadian one. So I remember seeing Saving Private Ryan. And how brutal it was. Like as soon as the doors go down, and I remember there was some kind of footage or something from Juno Beach. They must have had cameras back then because I remember seeing the gates go down and they made it off cleared entirely and not a shot was fired and they were far enough that you couldn't even see them on camera. And I was going, Well, that's very different. Not that I don't mean to belittle it, but that's much milder. I realized it was an entirely different beach where they sent the Canadians.
Utah Beach, by the way.
Utah
Beach.
It was. I said Nebraska. That's so much for my geography of the United States.
Close enough.
But I have friends who've been out there and visited, and they say, if you get up on those cliffs and you look down, you just see how they were sitting ducks, and it's insane. And that's the kind of stuff that you just kind of go, wow. And that's recent history. That's amazing stuff.
Well, it's also, you see what a massacre that was, and we've talked about this, where people say, dropping the A-bomb was a war crime. I'm going, well, you would have had a lot more D-days without that, a lot more lives lost on both sides. It was a lot bloodier.
A lot bloodier. It was had I been president of the United States, I would have made the same decision as Harry Truman.
Good Lord. Quarter Jap, he's self-loathing quarter Japanese.
He just can't. He's lost the ability to even. Look at that.
Look, he can't even. No, it is true. A lot of people don't realize they were dropping leaflets, letting their citizens know, hey, this bomb is coming. Please get out. They had already dropped a warning bomb. I mean, there's only so much you can do at a certain point when you're the good guy, and you're dealing with people who said, we'll sacrifice 10,000 of our own lives in order to try and ward off the Americans or use this propaganda. All right, we have to go to a break. We're going to come back. Newest Gender Pronouns with Dean Cain. If you leave, you suck.
And now for Swiss Family Robinson, the second generation.
It's very important to learn when you're hunting. You have to mask your scent and be as quiet as possible. Hunting is not as much about actually hunting, so much as waiting effectively.
Oh, I got it.
And after that, I'll teach you how to properly field dress the animal, remove the head, and ensure that the meat is preserved.
Okay.
Okay, shh. Okay, you see that? Do you see the wild hog there?
Hi, Mr. Piggy!
Fritz, what did I just tell you?
I don't know, but you look friendly.
Oh, that would have fed us for a month. Gosh, I'm really regretting those margaritas with your mom / my mom right now.
Stay tuned for more Swiss Family Robinson, the second generation.
When it's time to party, we will party hard.
All right, glad to be back. We are back with @Real Dean Cain. We are going to
because he's the real one.
He's the real one. No more imposters. He's going. You've never played this game though before. Newest Gender Pronouns, right?
I have not. I can only imagine.
Yeah, well, okay. So people who are familiar with the show know the game. These are real they're not pronouns. We needed an extra syllable for the song. They're real genders taken from the internet, from Tumblr, from leftist websites, salon.com. And I don't know them. I assume you don't know them. Jared's going to hit us with them. And we have to guess the closest to the definition. The closest wins, as will be settled by an impartial referee. So, are you clear on the rules?
Yes, no, go.
Okay, all right. Not good, Jared. Are we about ready?
You're about ready.
What does that mean, about, or we are ready?
That means we are
about to play.
Newest Gender Pronoun. Newest Gender Pronoun. Newest Gender Pronoun. Rapping all over science and stuff. Gender Pronoun. No science.
High production values, Dean.
That's the only way we do it around here.
I thought you would have been a good Power Ranger.
Hey, those guys are tough. I know some of those guys.
Except for the one guy who was gay and got mad at Bryan Cranston for saying he was gay.
Yeah.
Did you read that story?
No, the guy's gay. and
Billy
he got
Yost.
No. What's the name? The character's
Billy
name.
Cranston.
Billy Cranston. And so
Yeah,
Brian's
that's what
like,
it was.
yeah, unfortunately, that was the kind of Faye won, right? So and the guy got all offended. Anyways, long story. We'll talk about it. All right, Jared, hit us with the first gender.
You ready for this?
Yep.
All right. Blizzgender.
Blizzgender. Do you not have the bip 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 bip? Is that we don't have that today?
It should be in there. We'll see.
We'll see. All right. Blizzgender. Dean, guests go first.
Okay, because I play video games like World of Warcraft and it's owned by Blizzard, I'm going to say it is a gnome warlock. Oh my God, I have right here.
That is a good stab. I am going to say it is a gender of somebody who identifies with the elements of the earth, because blizzard, snow, that's going to be mine. Not gay, Jared?
Real answer is Blizzgender. A gender that feels cold, snowy, and harsh.
Oh my God.
Okay, well, we have to...
That's my ex-girlfriend.
Oh, God.
Just kidding. That's a joke.
No, it's not. It's 100% fact. All right, who won that round, Not gay, Jared?
I'm going to be fair about this one.
And the winner is the one who's prettier. The good-looking guy who played Superman.
Oh, that's me.
That was him.
That was
Yes!
that was you.
I would have given it to you. But
Hopper Zordon picked you. Not particularly. I thought I was closer, legitimately.
I think, he's
not necessarily impartial. All right, hit us with the next gender, Not gay, Jared. Fawn gender. Okay, Dean, you can go first.
Got it. Someone who identifies with
I know, it can go a multitude of ways.
Yeah, the animals so much that someone who really identifies themselves as a wild animal of the forest.
Like a fawn, like a deer.
That's what I was going.
Okay, because I knew he knew, but he was searching for it.
I'm like, am I allowed to say that?
Yeah, no, you're allowed to say that. That's fine. You just can't say the word. You can talk about it as grotesquely as you want. Well, that was going to be mine, but I'm going to say perhaps someone who is overly affectionate, a gender of someone who fawns all over somebody. Give us the answer, Not gay, Jared.
Fawn gender. A gender that is explored through timidity and caution, but becomes something natural and cute.
Huh. Okay.
Little fawn come up and...
I guess. Let's see. Who won that round?
And the winner is the guy who got to kiss Terry Hatcher on the screen. I heard she likes dogs.
Wow. That's a very specific
Hopper
answer.
Zordon seems very self-serving.
He's not the best. He is not the best.
He doesn't.
I think Hopper is the best.
Well, okay. Well, we know how this is going to go. So now it's 2-0.
Yep.
All right. Give us another gender here, Not gay, Jared. I need to come back.
Karma gender.
Karma gender. All right.
Karma, not karma.
No, C-A-R-M-I. I'll go first then, because I know. Okay, karma gender. I am going to say that this has to do with the beloved children's show, Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego? Someone who is a super fan of that and gets busy with the VHS tape.
That's digging back there.
Dean.
That's gone through history, but...
Boy, if you win that, I quit.
I don't know. This one's a tough one.
People who identify with people who are named Carmen. I'll go with that.
All right.
Well,
that's pretty close.
Or Carmine.
Carmine. Okay.
Karma gender. A gender which is poetic and rhythmic in nature.
That doesn't even make any sense.
No.
How does that?
That's terrible.
Karma.
Well, no one was even close.
No.
These are real.
These are real. This is not a joke.
No.
These are 100% real, and Not gay, Jared can
As
send
real
you
as
the
Tumblr
sources
is,
next.
and
All right,
we have to go with the winner.
Yeah,
And the
one.
winner is Superman.
Hopper's the best.
Okay, well, that's not. I think I see where this is going. I don't.
Hopper's the best.
We need to get a new judge. This is not a fair game.
It's not been a good track record.
With you guys, I disagree.
What happens is when the wife is gone, because he usually gets 2 walks a day, and he gets 1, and he blames me. So you're starting off with a plus two handicap. All right, one last one. Then we have to go. Not
All right, and last one.
Kavya gender. Okay, a gender who I'll go first. A gender who is open to everything, but with one caveat.
I see what you did.
Dean, we have to wrap this up. Give me your guess.
Cava is a wonderful drink that they drink out in Spain. It's like a champagne. It's what they call it.
Yes.
So it's people who like to have cava. I'm going to say that.
All right.
People who
Kavya
have
gender.
bubbly,
All right.
lovely times.
Kavya gender. Having a trapped or imprisoned gender.
Doesn't even make.
Like
cave a gender. All right, who's it? Give me the tiebreaker.
Tiebreaker. Tiebreaker. Okay.
No. I mean, give me Zordon.
And the winner is. Wait, guys. Superman gives cheeses.
Superman gives cheeses, Hopper Zordon. That's it. He can be bought. All right.
Yes, absolutely.
At Real Dean Cain, he's the champion. He'll have to come back to defend his title. Thank you very much for coming on, sir, and we apologize for putting you through this.
Oh, my pleasure, always. I love watching the show. I heard you were going daily, but I guess you're...
We got to hang up. Bye, Dean Cain. Louder with Crowder. Everybody stay tuned.
Welcome to Wild at Large on the Nature Network, narrated by Jasper Pronk.
Oh, the antelope, elegantly roaming the African savanna, capable of formidable speeds and unparalleled agility. The antelope finds itself in a never-ending game of cat and mouse, with predators determined to supersede their abilities, while the antelope attempts to outsmart its predators. We see here the dance of death that consumes the antelope's life as it tries to evade cats of prey. Sometimes the antelope is successful, with the sweet taste of victory merely being the ability to live another day. Sometimes its predator finds itself with the upper hand, as you see, oh boy, dragging that antelope down, just taking it into the dirt. That is just heart-wrenching to watch.
Damn it, Jasper, those aren't the lines.
Oh, I know. I'm just saying. That's just a perfect metaphor for life, isn't it? Sometimes your opponent just drags you down, and even if you win, your best-case scenario is getting to breathe air for another day and pay alimony for a lady who's living in a house that you paid for with some man who she refuses to marry, so you still have to pay her damn child support.
Damn it, Jasper, I get it. Just do the lines.
No, you don't get it, because I've been the antelope my whole damn life. And all 3 wives were cats of prey. I'm going to leave this studio, walk out, just so one more line can drag me on down into the dirt. And you know what? I come in here, this is my one escape, and you tell me what I can and can't say. I'm sick of it. I am plain old sick of it. I'm a sick little antelope.
Stay tuned for more Wild at Large on the Nature Network, narrated by Jasper Pronk.
Glad to be back. Third hour.
This is the third hour. You are correct.
Gosh, these shows go... Well, third hour, people listen to terrestrial. We go on this terrestrial clock, which may or may not last for a long time.
It's a pain in the butt.
It's a pain in the butt, and if ever one were to go daily, it would be a problem.
Well,
Maybe we'll do it
Dean
forever.
Cain can't fit in the last word.
He can't fit in the last word.
That's rude, but, you know.
So we are in, of course, well, we're not really in, we're 2/3 of the way through. And this week, of course, the DNC has been going on. It's been a big deal. We talked about this. We had credentials. We didn't end up going because it wasn't very safe. And we did, however, send one of you know him, and love him, one of our favorite correspondents who is a known Bernie voter, naturalized citizen, able to vote for the first time in the United States election. You followed his journey for Bernie, and he was kind enough to go down to the DNC to be our on-the-ground reporter, Jean-Guy Tremblay. Do we have him live?
I think we're connected.
Oh, okay, there he is. All right, there's Jean-Guy. Thanks for being with us,
That's
sir.
it. That's it.
That's it.
Hey. Hey, yeah, man, I'm glad to be, you know.
Well, thanks for coming on. So you're there at the DNC. What's it like there on the ground, experiencing
That's it. There's lots of people here excited to, for the revolution, for the real peoples, and like that. Okay, for the real people, can we take that one more?
No, it's live. It's live.
It's live. You have to tell me that, They're excited to feel the burn, There's lots of people who are going to feel about it. Woo!
Well, but Bernie Sanders is out now. He's not running anymore.
Huh?
So
That's it. Lots of people, they're excited to see the revolution for first time. Socialism for president of the States United,
No, Bernie Sanders is out, though, now. He endorsed Hillary Clinton. He endorsed Hillary.
No. I think you're making the mistake. After the DNC leak, that's finished. Tabarnak. No, there's no way after that they're gonna endorse the woman peoples like that.
No. Even after the DNC leaks, he still said you need to support Hillary Clinton. He endorsed her. He was.
No, man. I think you are make the mistake.
No. You're there. How are you not there for this?
Are you? You pulling off my leg?
No, he gave a speech adamantly endorsing Hillary Clinton. She's the nominee.
How can Bernie do that? I was there from the beginning, you know. The guy like that, he's take no money, he's there for the people, he's endorse the system corrupt like that for people like me, hey? He's going to hear from Jean-Guy and more people like that, okay? The people they vote for no more money, and the 1% is going to endorse the 1% and get our money from Goldman Sachs. You're going to tell me and Morgan Stanley all the Juif money? No. Ça passera pas comme ça. That's best not like that.
What do you mean Juif money? What's Juif?
Juif money, the bank, all the Juif, là. The Yamaka, all that, they do the menorah 8 nights of presents, but only get one is C.
Okay, so you mean Jew, but Bernie Sanders is Jewish. Bernie Sanders is a Jew.
Bernie Sanders is Juif?
Yes, Sanders.
Oh, man, I don't believe. I think you're telling me the lies like Fox News. That's what the Young Turks were talking about, I bet you too, you're gonna talk about it, the Armenian genocide, like that's for real thing. No, I'm not playing your bullshit. The real revolution for Bernie is going to continue here at the DNC, and you're gonna see about it. We're gonna make history with the big bank.
Okay, calm down.
And the big bank, the Juif money.
You don't need to get this worked up.
My dog is get mad.
Well, you need to calm down.
Even he's feel the burn.
Okay.
I want to feel it.
Well, I know you're passionate.
How do I get out of this interview?
All right, Naki Jared, that's enough.
That's we should probably cut it there.
We don't need to see that.
Listen,
there's political opposition, and you feel bad for the guy at a certain point.
I think he hung up.
Jean-Guy is sincere. He's sincerely wrong. We know that. But it's funny. I cut myself here a while back shaving, and I'm looking on, and it's still there. My skin doesn't heal. I have the scar tissue. I can just see myself. I'm like, well, what is that?
Like Samuel L. Jackson, circa Unbreakable.
Oh, that's right. I didn't like that movie. I know it was
kind of dark.
While we're talking about the DNC, Bernie Sanders, of course, endorsed Hillary Clinton. So for people who don't know, and he was booed off the stage by his own supporters out there at. It wasn't at the official main DNC stage.
I don't know. It was just hilarious, though.
It was absolutely hysterical.
It was sad. It was almost sad for like a little bit of my humanity. Cried for him because he's so.
Yeah, I understand. I mean,
played it poorly.
I think the guy is sincere. I think he's very, very wrong. But there's been major clashes at the DNC for people who have been following. Major violent clashes at the DNC between Hillary and Bernie supporters. Have you been following this, not Jerry?
I have. I think what's funny is everyone expected more of that at the RNC, and it's like the DNC turned out to be where all the plot twist really was.
We've talked about this, right? Because people think that leftist protests are always more violent. Always, as a general rule, they tend to be far more violent. So the Tea Party, they were looking all over, whether you like it or not, for violence, for racism, and they left public parks, for which they got the right permits, cleaner than when they found them. Mm-hmm. Police officers were speaking out saying, yeah, I mean, they're cleaning up. We actually the cleaning crews don't have anything to do. They're going around with their own pokey sticks, and they're picking up the trash, and the media says, they're trying to kill black people with pokey sticks. And then let's contrast that with Occupy Wall Street. John Nolte, back when Breitbart was, I don't know, it was big Hollywood, big journalism, he compiled a list that was, what you got there? Oh, okay, turn that around.
Some tea.
Yes, just drinking some tea. John Nolte compiled a list of over 400-something crimes at the Occupy protests. And many, many felonies. And then you have, Woodstock is a great example. Anywhere Black Lives Matter. I love how they talked about the Dallas PD shooting. And they said, after a peaceful Black Lives Matter protest, someone opened fire. Well, what does it take for the protest to not be considered peaceful? Well, he wasn't one of the demonstrators. What? It's unreal. Whereas the Tea Party, they would
That's some impeccable timing for him to show up during the rally.
Yes.
And then opened
Or
fire.
right after the
that's-
rally, yeah. Where he knew the officers would be there to protect people who were protesting the police, which we'll talk about actually after the break. Michael Jordan's been in some hot water for daring to simply say all cops aren't demonic. So we actually, did we talk about this yet today with any of the guests about us going to the DNC?
No.
It's always tough to know if we've talked about it, you and I, or if we've talked about it
Well,
on
because
air.
we recorded the Sargon earlier. So.
Well, we had tickets booked. So for people who don't know, we had
Yeah.
tickets booked to go to Philadelphia. We had the credentials, and we were going to go down. And I have this issue, and I've spoken with you know about this. I have a compulsion. And I think it comes from, we've talked about this, when you're bullied as a kid, you can either choose to live in fear, you can choose to let that define you and try and get over it. So I was bullied a lot. I was a pretty nerdy kid. And if I'm afraid of something, I feel as though it's my obligation to do it, no matter what it is. And I definitely was feeling uneasy about going to the DNC protest because you've been with me. We've gotten in some hot water. We never want to tip anybody off, so we don't like to. But there have been some situations, hairy situations, and obviously they're the ones that people have seen with me at protests. And the show has grown, and we're very grateful. Of course, we're not going daily, so the profile for both of us is bigger. And we didn't have the right security. That fell through. And then the hotel wasn't the right hotel. And it was in a not so great area. And there were just a series of events where we said, you know what? I spoke with my father about it. He said, listen, I get that you feel now like you have to do it because you don't want to do it. He said, but locking your car does not mean that you're being defeated if you're locking your car in a bad area. And we didn't end up going, but we were talking about this. No one really has to think about that at the RNC. We're not talking about going down there and instigate and saying, punch me, though you should be able to do that and not be worried about being hit. You should be able to say whatever you want. But people don't need to worry about showing up at the RNC and simply saying, hey, I support Bernie, and getting their lights punched out. You know, Hillary supporters aren't safe at the DNC.
Well,
right
the people
now.
everyone was afraid of at the RNC were people who showed up. You know, the new Black Panthers showing up with their AR-15s. I mean, those are the reasons why people I know from Cleveland people avoided downtown because they those are the collisions they didn't want to participate in. But
lots of open carrying at the RNC, much more peaceful.
Yeah, go figure.
Which, considering how polarizing a figure Donald Trump has been, like you said, you would have expected it to be far more violent. So it is something that is a constant with leftist protests. Pick a leftist protest. Pick a major historical leftist protest. It invariably gets violent. Certainly in my lifetime. I'm trying to think. There was Occupy. Obviously, all the Black Lives Matter. Do you remember? Well, it's not really a leftist protest, but obviously it was the original Woodstock. It's so funny. People look back then and say, well, we were really doing stuff back then. These kids, no, you weren't. No, you weren't. You're getting high on LSD and you were screwing in the mud. You weren't doing anything. You were always losers.
Have you ever screwed in the mud, Steven? Don't diss it.
That's one of those things people talk about a lot, and they talk about like, Mile High Club. I'm like, oh gosh, it just sounds disgusting. I think a lot of those ideas they're better as ideas.
Well, it's just like the beach sex scenes. That doesn't go well ever.
I can't imagine it would.
Movies,
yeah. It's one of those deals where you're like, no, that's just going to lead to discomfort and some sort of ointment is going to be necessary.
Sand, it's rough. Kids everywhere.
Stop it. What is with you tonight?
Star Wars
You're just missing time codes in your. Oh wait, was that Star Wars?
Yeah, Star Wars.
Oh, what were we going to talk about? Oh gosh, there was something. Stranger Things. That's a show everyone should be going out to see, and not Gay Jared has not seen it. He refuses to.
That's
People
a lie.
tweet me at Crowder. He just needs to start seeing what I tell him to see, because I say, listen, we're going to be talking about this in the show, and then I come in and say, have you read about this? No. Or I say, hey, we're going to watch this show because I want to talk. Have you? No, I'm not going to. What are you watching? I'm going to watch Star Wars for the umpteenth time.
Oh, please.
And LeBron. I'm going to watch
Lies.
old LeBron 30 for 30.
You got 30 seconds
with LeBron. And I give you some ground there with LeBron. I'm like, hey, you know what? He seems like a good guy. Hey, let me meet you there. And then when I say, hey, can you meet me? Can you watch this show on Netflix? I really want to talk about it. No. What are you watching? I'm watching Friends.
Friends is fantastic.
You don't even get your plurals right. This is a nightmare. We're going to talk about Michael Jordan here after the break, and then Liberal Lunacy will be on, and we'll spank Not Gay Jared into shape.
Ooh.
Wait, no.
Oh, yes.
Stay tuned.
You're committed.
And now for actual conversations from firearm message boards.
Dear Karen62, I already answered your question. You better get a 45 or bigger, otherwise you might as well just be using a pointy stick. And personally, I would prefer a pointy stick.
Listen, Karen may not be ready for the recoil and size of a 45 for carry yet. I'd much prefer her take a firearm that we know she'll carry with her and use with great comfort.
It's all about size of caliber. Why don't you just recommend her to get a 22? I've seen people get shot with 55 22s, and they didn't even get a scratch. They just kept tubing down the river.
Listen, no one's recommending a 22. If she's going to use a revolver like a 44 Magnum, she'd be better served by a 357 or 38.
I know someone who got raped just for carrying a 38.
Nothing you say is true. If you really believe that, why don't you just carry a bazooka?
Well, it just so happens I have a bazooka. Carl 86 here, a little late to the party, and I second the idea of a larger caliber. That is why I do not carry anything less than a 50 cal machine gun mounted to the top of my Jeep Wrangler. Anything else is for queers. Yeah, well, guess what? I've got two 50 cals mounted to two Jeeps, and I've got laser-guided missiles. Anything less is just for pansy ass. Exclamation point.
Well, I'm out.
Since you're in the business of calling people pansy ass, I also have a diesel-powered submarine with torpedoes. Well, that's just silly. How are you even going to use that on land? That's why I don't leave the house with anything less than my button for my biochemical weapon stored in my launch pad in my garage. Now you get into the debate of over-penetration. Over-penetration, nothing. If those people didn't want to be hurt, they shouldn't have been standing there in the middle of an altercation. I see your point, and that's why I don't leave the house with anything less than my electronic hacking device that allows me to access the nuclear codes to the United States nuclear arsenal.
Hey guys, Karen62 checking in. It's been 2 months, and I still haven't purchased a firearm. In that span of time, living in Baltimore, I've been violently assaulted 4 more times. Any advice appreciated? Emoji smiley face / frowny face.
At least she wasn't carrying a 38.
That was creepy. We were dancing before that. I don't know what it took a weird turn.
That was a terrible dance.
We have a question
that
came to us from our partners over there at AR15.com on the message board. Someone, Miss Leprechaun. Oh, lady listener. You're still around. Send the therapy bill to Not Gay Jared. I agree with your observation regarding leftist protests are more violent. Why do you think that is? Any studies, books, or personal theories? We've talked about this on the show. I think it was more so in a short video. Think about this. This is my personal theory. Leftism, socialism, big government is predicated on violence. That's the only way it can work. At the end of the day, how do you take people's stuff? At the end of a barrel.
Things have to get ugly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think that's improper. Taxation without representation. Well, at some point, when you walk on down the logic trail, it can only be implemented through violence. Not so for more freedom. Now, I'm not saying there's no legitimate role of government, but for more freedom, for a more libertarian philosophy, it's based on personal responsibility. It requires less coercion. And so really, these people are protesting for bigger government. What are they protesting for? What are they demanding? If you're a negotiator, this is a hostage situation, what are his demands, right? Someone who wants Bernie Sanders, socialism. They want more violence. They want more government coercion. So, since they are protesting in order to incorporate more coercion into the government, it would stand to reason that they might be more violent at the protests themselves.
Surprise.
Hopefully I've crystallized that for you. Hey, this story was pretty big this week up at louderwithcredit.com. So Michael Jordan, not really big on sharing his political opinion. He came out and he donated $1 million to, first off, everyone was outraged, of course. Black Lives Matter, leftists, they were furious. So I'm sure you can guess what he gave $1 million to.
Let's see.
Murderers, police.
Oh, there you go.
So here's the footnote. He said let me read you some excerpts. Right. Of course! I have been deeply troubled by the cowardly and hateful targeting and killing of police officers. I am saddened and frustrated by the divisive rhetoric and racial tensions that seem to be getting worse as of late. We need to find solutions that ensure people of color receive fair and equal treatment, and that police officers who put their lives on the line every day to protect us are respected and supported. Long story short, he donated $1 million each to two organizations, the International Association of Chief of Police's newly established Institute for Community Police Relations and the NAACP Legal Defense Fund. So this isn't Neo-Nazis Cops Anonymous. It's the NAACP Legal Defense Fund.
How dare
Institute for Community Relations, Community Police Relations. So the tweets.
Start a hashtag.
From angry Black Lives Matter supporters. No one was waiting for Michael Jordan to speak out for black people or Black Lives Matter issues. We know he only speaks when it affects his money. He gave money. Black Lives Matter. F Michael Jordan, Uncle Tom ass B. Instead of helping black communities in areas you invest money into prisons, that NIGGA ain't S word.
Very
We've reached
clever
the point where
vocabulary
this is more outrageous. We've talked about this. It's more outrageous we've said it's more outrageous to say, hey, let's wait for the facts, right? Facts are racist. Now it's more outrageous for Michael Jordan to give $1 million to an NAACP affiliated organization because it also doesn't assume cops are murderers. The NAACP is not a bastion of conservatism. This is upsetting to Black Lives Matter. What does that tell you? Unless you are falling in line with the rhetoric that officers are killing black kids in record numbers, they are never going to be happy. That's the issue at hand. Funny story. Casey, who writes for me at LouderWithCrowder.com, not Gay Jared, was with me. So she was the one who wrote this article. Well, she helped finish it. So we co-write a lot of these together because I don't have time to produce everything. And I go in, I write it, someone frames it, and we co-write a lot of these. And she was putting together the thumbnail, so the images in Photoshop. And I get a text after I had helped write it, and I get a text saying, hey, can I tweet? And it says the N-word, but the A version. And my heart sunk through my chest. And Jared was like, what? Remember you were like, what? What's wrong? It looked like I saw a ghost.
Yeah, literally just died.
And I texted her back. I said, no, never.
Stop the press.
Stop. But it begs the question, in what context? And then she goes, well, I have the screenshot of the Black Lives Matter saying this N-word ain't nothing. Yeah. So I won't. I was like, oh, an image of a Black Lives Matter protester using the N-word. I said, well, okay, that's fine. I thought you were asking if you could use the word, and I thought I'm going to have to fire a racist for the first time in my life. And she said, why do you think I'm racist? She said, what's wrong with you?
You're just firing dumb people.
So it was a really busy day. This is the day we were taping the Young Turks video.
Yep.
So it was incredibly busy. I'm going, no, you can never use the N-word, because she's really smart. And I thought, wait, why is she, what kind of joke is this? And she was like, no, it was a screen capture of a black person who is, of course, a racist. Black Girls Matter is the one that she, in a thumbnail. It's a true story. Not Gage here. I was going, what's wrong? I'm going, I never saw this before, but like, she's a ginger. She's very pale. I don't know. I mean, it's possible. You know, they got to think about that. She's probably been bullied. Maybe she's going too far the other way. No, turns out Casey's entirely reasonable, and I'm a horrible boss. Thank you, Casey. Something else. Stranger Things. I really do think Not Gay Jared should watch. It's a great show. It's on Netflix. There is a strong feminist bent that I think a lot of people have missed. The dads are either non-existent or they are really dumb. You know, sort of sitcom dads. The girl's the only one who can shoot.
That's a real original idea.
Yeah, it's so there's that, but it is a great show. It is a fantastic show on Netflix, and it's pretty family friendly, mostly family friendly. A lot of people ask us.
You said it's kind of like Super 8 or ET.
It's very Super 8 ET-ish.
Right?
They get the era, early 80s, perfectly.
Yeah.
Here's something though. They're kids, a group of kids. One of them is a black kid. And it's not even really addressed. It's just they're sitting there, they're all talking, and they're friends. And I remember when I grew up in grade school, we didn't really have any black kids in my high school. In grade school, we were just friends. It was a non-issue. And we all hung around. We liked the same things. We spoke about the same things. The vernacular was relatively similar. That's not the case today. Think about it. When you look back at a lot of these 80s shows, of course it was still just as diverse. You had black people, you had white people together. But it wasn't an entirely divided culture. Where have you seen, like, if you tune into BET today, or you tune into you see what black kids are watching on Vine? I've heard of white people being out of touch with black American culture. But it is absurd. It gets to the point where you're going, I don't know the kind of world these people live in. Whereas you go back to the 90s, and we were really in a post-racial America in the sense that it didn't really occur to us as kids. We all played with Super Soakers and watched the Ninja Turtles, and it definitely seems like it's gotten worse. Tweet me at S. Crowder if you think there's some sense in there. Liberal Lunacy after the break. Resident
Shanna
Gimp.
Gibbs coming up.
Whoa, Jared, what are you doing?
Shoot bad guys.
With what?
My AR-15.
Where'd you get it?
AR-15.com.
Oh, there's another one. You got him.
Yeah.
Thank God for AR-15.com. They have AR-15 and accessories for sale and the best advice there is on the web. Oh, no, there's another one. You got him.
Yeah.
With your what?
AR-15.
From where?
AR-15.com.
That's the best place to go, and that's the takeaway because this commercial's about to stop.
Welcome to Wild at Large on the Nature Network, narrated by Jasper Pronk. Oh, the Emperor Penguin. This most amicable creature in the animal kingdom presents a clown-like appearance, but a much more complex interior. The penguin is an animal loved by all, but understood by few. Known by many for its tuxedo-like appearance, few people understand that the penguin is capable of traversing great lengths of territory in the most unforgiving conditions in order to protect its offspring. A flightless bird that travels in groups, many people are unaware that the emperor penguin mates for life. Oh boy, someone tell them that one's a mistake.
Damn it, Jasper.
Well, you know it's true.
Just through the lines.
I'm just saying, I wish I could scream through this monitor at that little penguin to tell him to run, to flap his little flightless wings for dear life. If he's mating for life, I tell you what, he's in for a rude awakening.
Jasper, just please read the lines.
I tell you, that sounds good to him right now because he's got that cute little number there hanging out on his wing. But what happens when he finds himself on the wrong side of 40, whatever that is in penguin years, and she trades him in for some younger, brighter, more capable young pecker?
Can't say that, Jasper.
Oh, stop. You're so uptight. I'm talking about birds. That's what the term was invented for, peckers for birds. Here's what I'm telling you. If that penguin knew what was good for him, he would run right now. He would run right now before that other little lady penguin starts hearing about alimony and child support when she goes to a bridge club with all the other little lady penguins. That's when it gets really ugly.
Jasper, why are you making my life so hard?
Your life's hard. Do you know what I pay in alimony in a given month?
No, Jasper.
I mean, really? Do you have any idea?
Still no.
Well, let's just say when those 20-year royalties kick in, I'll still be homeless, penniless, and toothless.
Why would you be toothless?
Because I'm even going to have to sell my fillings, damn it! Stay tuned for more Wild at Large on the Nature Network, narrated by Jasper Pronk.
Glad to be back. We have our final guest of the program. She's been on the show before, and now she's back. And of course, it's always best with the second interview because they know what to expect. It's less uncomfortable.
Yeah. How do you give someone a description of this kind of thing? You can't describe it.
Let me give her a plug. YouTube.com/liberal lunacy. Thank you for being with us.
No problem.
So I'm glad to have you. I wanted to bring you on because you've talked about this a lot. You've talked about on the show the ableism and for people who don't know, you are I don't know the correct wheelchair bound. What's the term?
I go with I am cripplekin.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
No, I'm disabled. I call myself a cripple just to get a rise out of people.
What is
mostly.
the real term though?
I disabled.
Okay.
Wheelchair bound.
Because you always get corrected. I said disabled one time, and someone said that's also incorrect. So you never know.
You can, you know what? It may offend other people, but you can call me a cripple. I give you permission.
Yes,
Seriously.
she gave us a cripple pass or a gimp pass last time.
That's handy.
I did.
That's handy.
It worked. Came in very
It's handy capable.
Oh geez.
Oh, she's gonna guess on all the puns.
We're gonna get letters. Okay, so I was watching the DNC, and last one of these nights, I can't even keep track of them, was that they trotted out the girl in the wheelchair. There she is, and then right after her, there was a dwarf, and it was just, that's the term. I know it sounds awful. It sounds like a mythical creature, but that's the real term. So it was like a competition to see, okay, who has the worst.
It's the Oppression Olympics.
Yes, that's exactly what it is. As someone who's been watching this, who is as a self-defined cripple, what do you think when you watch them trot them out in a clear attempt to pander?
Well, I feel like at least when they did it this time, first off, I feel like they played Roll Out the Cripple just so they could stop the booing. Yeah. Because that was going on for hours.
Boo, wait, hold on. You're not going to boo this person, are you? You're not going to boo, look at him, boo the handicap. Oh, no, shut up.
How are we so heartless?
Exactly.
Don't be heartless. Don't boo the handicap. Purr.
Exactly. But
that's a good point.
No, they brought her out as, the token cripple to make people feel bad and all of that. And I decided to look this woman up and try to figure out whether she was developmentally disabled or not, because I wanted to know whether to be mad at her or her handlers or whatever.
Oh, God.
It's true, because, when they're developmentally disabled, they have caregivers, they're aides, and so I didn't know who to be mad at.
So you're saying she has AIDS and she may have just dove into a shallow pool. It's all her fault.
Of course. No.
Okay, so what did you find?
I found out she has cerebral palsy and spastic. Spastic.
You're a resident cripple. You're supposed to know these things.
I know. She has spastic paraplegia.
Well, that's not fun.
That's not a term I've used before. So.
Okay,
Give me a break.
does that mean she needs helpers and handlers?
Yes. Physically, she would need help, but mentally, she's fine.
Yeah.
So, she's just like me. It's just a body issue, and so her mental capability is completely fine. And I wanted to know
she's at the DNC.
whether, well, true, but I wanted to know if her. If it was, her being used as a puppet or her allowing herself to be used as a puppet. And because I wanted to know who I'm mad at.
Right.
And it's definitely her. She has allowed herself to be used in this way. And when I heard her saying, he doesn't speak for me, I'm like, well, you don't speak for me. You're not Queen Cripple. I am.
Well, she was saying that about Trump, right?
Right, yeah. Saying Trump doesn't hear me, Trump doesn't speak for me, blah, 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 blah. It's like, who cares? I don't care.
That's a good point, because bring it up, just not the audio, but one person who kind of spoke for your community was always Christopher Reeve. He was the self-appointed spokesperson.
Oh God, I hated him.
Well, they had him out in '96, right? Here he is
1996, yeah.
In 1996, making jokes and stuff. Little known fact about Christopher Reeve. I know you're not supposed to. He actually was incredibly uncharitable until he had his disorder, and then
he was a complete d-bag.
Yeah, everyone talks about it. No one has a good word to say about him before the accident, and then he would berate people who were doing what he did before it happened to him.
Yeah.
So it's funny you said, because it's almost always like, oh well, Christopher Reeve is our resident. He speaks for the handicapped community, and people just assume it.
It's bull, because he I don't want to go South Park on this, but he fell into it literally. I was born this way, so
yeah, it's true. And stop it, not Gage. You're not allowed. She's allowed to make the jokes. You're not allowed to laugh.
Oh yes, you are.
I'll make a cripple of you, by God.
Oh, I know you will.
I'll help. I have an extra chair.
Well, it does come in handy. I'm not going to lie. You do have a skewed view. Obviously, they're not walking and stuff. That's tough. Don't get me wrong. But you have a skewed view in how nice people are to you. When I was in a wheelchair after surgery, everyone...
People are jerks to me.
Really?
Yeah, but it has nothing to do with my disability. It has to do with the fact that I am not left-leaning.
Oh, okay. Well, yes, but that's in those groups. But I mean, in day-to-day life, like you go to the grocery store, strangers, they're probably a lot nicer to you than they are to someone like me.
Well, I did get into it with a store manager once because I wasn't wearing shoes. And I'm like...
It's like cripple Larry David. Okay, I need to hear this go.
Okay, so I went, a friend of mine decided, they wanted to go up to the grocery store with me, and we lived very close, so they just decided to wheel me up there instead of taking a car,
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, well, screw it, I'm not going to put on my shoes, because I'm not walking anywhere,
Right.
Like, if I'm getting in a car, I will put on my shoes because my feet can get torn up from the concrete.
Okay.
But, so, I didn't have my shoes on, and it's like late at night, like 11, 12 o'clock at night,
Mm-hmm.
and we're just going around looking for frozen pizza or whatever. And this store manager comes up to me and he's like, ma'am, you're not wearing shoes. I'm like, it's not like I'm walking on the floor.
What happened? Did they double down, or did they just say, okay?
The dude doubled down. He's like, well, it's store policy. And I'm like, well, I'm not gonna, like, I was literally being a shopping cart at this point, holding
people just tossing Eggos in your lap.
Pretty much, because I am the shopping cart when I go
Naturally.
shopping. I hold everything.
Yeah.
So I told him, I'm like, dude, I am being a shopping cart right now. I'm going. Do you want me to go put all of this back, or just give it to you to put back so I can leave, go get shoes, and come back? Or are you gonna let me buy my stuff and leave?
And what did he say?
He's like, well, as long as you don't put your feet on the ground. I'm like, yeah.
That's him trying to save face. All right, I did my part.
Just in case you're faking and you're gonna get up and walk and dance around, just probably best not to.
No one's gonna get
Right.
the best of me at this Kroger.
No.
Gosh. Okay, well, I stand corrected. People were very nice to me in a wheelchair. I was amazed until I would register. Oh, I'm in a wheelchair after the knee surgery.
I mean, they may be nicer to me, but I'm just a very abrasive person. So, and I'm very confrontational. So,
well, that's good. That's bold. Now let me ask you this: with the feet, I have a good friend who has cerebral palsy. Do you have feeling in your feet if you put on shoes, or no?
yeah. I can feel some things. I can feel hot, cold, and pain.
Okay.
But it's always delayed. Like, my husband will step on my foot and be like, "Oh, sorry," and I'm like, "What? Ow!"
It comes a few seconds later.
It's like me with the jokes. Any jokes?
It takes a little while for Not Jared to register the jokes. Okay, well, I was asking that because I was wondering if it was, you said my feet get chewed up by the concrete, so it depends on the condition. Sometimes people, they can just they can stick a hot poker through their foot.
Well,
and they don't even know.
there is a danger. Even if I couldn't feel my feet completely, if my feet get torn up, they could get infected. Especially if I couldn't feel them, I wouldn't notice.
Right.
So
okay, so you see this. Is it like sort of like Black Americans, they vote 90-something% Democrat. In the disabled community, is there a trend?
I don't really know.
Speak for them. Speak for all of them.
I am the queen of the cripples, so they must all vote the way I do. No, I think a lot of them do vote Democrat. I think there's a skew, though, of people who were born disabled and people who were injured, especially veterans.
Okay.
Veterans tend to be more right-leaning,
right.
Even if they are in the wheelchair. But a lot of people who were born, with a disability or grew up with it, their parents basically taught them a victim complex. And so they expect everything to be handed to them.
Well, what did your parents do for you to turn out this way? Did they just toss you in the pool and see what happened?
Not literally, but yeah, pretty much. It was very much, no one else is the world is not gonna be kind to you just because of what you have. So you have to figure out a way to live in it.
Oh, well, it seems like, to obviously take it a few steps back, a lot of people have...
Hey, that's ableist.
Right, yes. Damn it. I can't keep track of them.
We should probably censor these things. We should probably bleep them.
Yes, take a few wheelies back.
Right.
It's not that people don't have legitimate claims to some sort of victimization, whether they're black, whether they have a disability. It's that you can choose to allow it to define you. And I think that Democrats right now with the DNC, you see, they are absolutely hell-bent on defining people by their grievances, by their race, by their gender. That is the message, and removing the Second Amendment from the platform this time.
Well, and all they seem to be focused on is what people are, not who they are.
Right.
They don't give a crap what you've done or how hard you've worked. Anything. As long as you have the skin of what they want to show, you can be a prop.
Do you, because you said you get into fights with a lot of leftists over this, do you find that they're very surface, that they almost always just focus on the disability and not really your worldviews or your contributions?
I find a lot of them, they will go for the cripple angle, which, I have the perfect meme for it to throw at them of me on the ground with the wheelchair tipped and it just says fail,
Yes, I've seen that. I can't retweet it because my, people will attack me, but...
You should, just to tick them off and be like, Shannon said I could.
I will. I'll do that.
But no, so I use that, but a lot of what they actually go for, and this is the irony, they claim they're all for women's rights and all of that. I get mostly and body positivity. I get mostly, oh, look at this fat Jew, and talking about me being a woman. So, and I don't get that from the right.
That's what they. I don't. That's horrible.
I'm not even Jewish.
I was going to ask, are you Jewish?
I'm part Hebrew. It's all right here.
Oh, okay. All right. There. Apparently, I look Jewish.
I'm 1/16 Hebrew. Okay. Apparently.
All right. So that's enough for the anti-Semites out there.
Apparently.
Yeah, it's enough. I mean, gosh, that's just if they're like, well, we can't attack her on the wheelchair thing. We can attack her on the Jew thing, right? We hate.
Oh no, they attack on the wheelchair thing too. They do.
Yeah. Well, I know.
But I find it funny that they always attack surface things and never what I'm saying.
It's a good point, and we have to let you go. We'll have you back soon, but what she says can be found at youtube.com/liberallunacy. Really, I highly recommend checking her out, listening to what she has to say. She goes against the grain, and that takes a brass pair. We will be back, Louder with Crowder. Stay tuned, or don't.
And now for Swiss Family Robinson, the second generation.
Sometimes I just really wish there was just one other family on this island.
I know, it sure would solve a lot of problems.
Yeah, I know, but you gotta do what you gotta do to keep the Robinson name. Is that Fritz Jr.? Wait, what's he dragging?
Hey, Dad, Mom, I hunted one and I brought it back.
He hunted one?
Yeah, look, and I took the head off properly. An ostrich.
You took the head off our ostrich?
Yeah, not to preserve the meat, though.
You don't hunt ostrich. That was our only mode of transportation. That's how we get around.
Well, then he should have been a lot faster.
What?
When I snuck up on him, he didn't run anything.
That's because he's tied to a post. You've seen him every day of your life.
Huh?
For crying out loud, Fritz Jr.
Well, he takes after his father/brother.
Stay tuned for more Swiss Family Robinson, the second generation.
Glad to be back. That was as you heard, was Hopper, who always produces in studio.
They couldn't hear him, actually.
They couldn't hear him?
No.
Oh, they couldn't hear him. He always produces in studio, which when we may or may not move to a new studio because we're never going daily, I wonder how he's going. He'll probably be in there with us. I don't think we could rob him of that.
You hear that?
Hold on.
And no, he's not
He
killing
won't do
anymore.
it for the camera.
No,
he won't
do it.
squeak it.
A
That's the
little
thing.
shy.
People don't realize. Like, it's cute. He's killing
It's like
that
you try
toy.
to pee and someone's watching you. It just doesn't happen.
Well,
Audience ruins everything.
Your record says it does. So, a couple of things. Thank you to Liberal Lunacy. You can follow her at liberal_lunacy. John Kerry this week. You can hear it now. So here he's killing something.
He's killing. He's just
Hear that
going
sound?
after that. He is victorious.
That's the sound of murder.
That
And
is.
people have no idea. You wonder why little dogs
Poor lamb
are
chop.
so poorly behaved, because it's still in their little dog brain. John Kerry claimed this week that air conditioners and refrigerators pose as big a threat to life on the planet as the threat of terrorism. So let's regroup here. ISIS, not really that big of a threat. Hashtag not all Muslims, not Islam. It's fine. It's compatible with Western civilization. At some point, though it's never happened, American police officers are the real problem. That's what we need to get to the bottom of real quick. Something else to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, while we're talking about this, apparently he went up at the DNC, introduced himself as Michael Jordan, and said that Donald Trump would never know the difference. Listen, I've never been the biggest Trump fan.
Kind of funny, but
Arsenio Hall won the Celebrity Apprentice. And that's his black friend, but Donald Trump has a lot of things. I do not believe at all that he has had no interaction with black people or he hates black people. It's just not an accurate criticism.
Sometimes it's hard to enjoy the comedy of something when you don't buy the narrative.
Exactly.
It kind of ruins it when you're like, and I understand that's a bias, but
exactly. I can laugh at jokes that I find are funny. I mean, I laugh all the time at jokes at conservatives' expense. So, what's the through line here? What really matters? I wanted to actually bring up a story. I'm amazed I haven't told this story. Pastor of the church where my wife and I got married told this story. So right now, we believe that not all Muslims, but Islam is fine. It's a peaceful religion. Cops are a real problem right now. Republicans are racist. Democrats are the party of science. This is what's being said out there, and a lot of people believe it. If you look at the tweets, a lot of people are waking up. Same thing with the Young Turks. Well, I think they just changed. No, I think you woke up, and you've been hearing these things. They've been drilled into you time and time and time again. And if you look at the DNC, they understand pageantry better than Republicans, and they understand repetition. If it sounds repetitive, that's by design. My pastor talked about this story. I don't have it up, but it was a study, and I've heard about this before. I read about it in a book a while back, but it refreshed my memory. They did a study with a child in a classroom and a teacher, and they asked them a question. Now, everyone was in on it except for one child. So the study was not for the classroom. It was that one child. And they said, okay, I don't remember the exact number, but it might have been, what is 8 plus 8? And the kid's thinking 16. They had every single kid say, it's 18. And the teacher said, yes, it's 18. And they ran this study on a few different children. And almost invariably, the child knew it was 16, but didn't say anything because he thought, oh, everyone around me is saying 18, and the teacher's saying 18, so she must know, she must be right. And I thought about that. I thought, man, if I were a kid, what would I have done? I probably would have the first time been quiet because I would have thought the teacher must know better. I'm not that smart. The teacher's smarter than me. And once I found out that it was a study, I would have never made that mistake again. I would have learned that lesson. Just because that effectively not a study that happened with me once or twice, where I realized I didn't speak out because I thought everyone else was right. When everyone else says there was no justice for these police officers, well, you hear it and it's drilled into you, so you think, well, there must have been no justice. When everyone else says Islam, it's this tiny, tiny minority. Don't let these extremists tell you that. Well, you don't realize. Well, isn't it really hundreds of millions of Muslims who support death for apostasy in Sharia law? No, everyone goes along because they know 8 plus 8 is 16, but everyone else is saying it's 18. And I brought this up actually with an in-law. I remember I brought it up. And we were talking about it, and she said, well, that's a horrible example because just because pop culture, the media is telling you that something is a certain way, doesn't mean that that's the case. It can be wrong. Everyone else can be wrong sometimes. Not all the time, but they can be. When I brought it up with an in-law, she said, well, I think that's a horrible example because math is concrete, and that's just a horrible example. It's not the same thing as like peer pressure or society. I said, well, what do you mean? She said, well, it's you can measure 8 plus 8 is 16, so it's not the same as something like with society that people believe that's intangible. I said, well, that's not true, and she's a liberal. I said, that's not true. She said, well, yes, it is. I said, okay, gender, sex. No male has ever successfully transitioned to a biologically functioning female. It can't be done. It's never been done. But you just talked about it as though it could be done earlier, right? You believed it.
Mm-hmm.
It's never happened. Didn't you just said you believe that someone could change their biological sex? She got really quiet. It's a perfect example. It couldn't be more clear. The science, not only of chromosomes, you don't want to simplify it to that, but the science of biology, of functioning sex organs, of how your hormones, how your DNA, where it wants to function, how it will try and rebalance it. It's never happened. No man has ever turned into a woman.
We also talk about people who buy into the idea that there is no absolute truth. Everything is relativism.
Right.
Everything is personal, whatever the word is I'm looking for there. But, truth doesn't exist.
It's all situational ethics. Mm-hmm. And think about it. It makes it a lot easier where it just becomes about pageantry and empathy. Listen, everyone out there has some sympathy for this girl who's saying, I hope that my parents are not deported by force. Hold on a second. Your parents committed a crime. Now, when we've boiled it all down to nothing more than situational ethics, and it's all about how do we feel, everyone says, well, it would be immoral to say, sorry, little girl, your parents broke the law. Everyone is saying that right now, so that's why people are afraid to say, your parents broke the law. Because then you're not sympathetic. Then you're not empathetic to a little girl. Just because everyone says that something is true, it doesn't mean that it's true. It doesn't mean that it's right. If you're a liberal, just use a different example, the war in Iraq. Everyone agreed on it. 80-something% at one point. If you don't agree with me on certain issues, just take that as an example. And you probably still believe it's wrong and feel vindicated. You don't have to accept it because everyone else is saying it. And that's been a really valuable lesson for me. Hopefully it is for you. Maybe I'm an idiot. See you next week.